and some great appearances coming up today. But first, without further ado, the boss. How you doing, boss?
I am doing excellent. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for the invitation. I happen to have a client cancellation happen right 10 minutes before you sent the invite. And I was like, well, I got a hole in my schedule. Let's go.
I believe that is what we call meant to be. Because, Tom may or may not be joining us a little bit later. Chris Gore should be joining us. But so you don't have to listen to just my boring voice all day, especially when I'm a little bit rusty because of the allergies and stuff. Then it's so nice to have Mike, the Mexican Iron Man, here.
Always great to be here. And I love this amazing chat. Love the discourse. And before we get too much started, we had a video that released this morning. Boy, oh boy, did I enjoy that. Incredibly well written, Andre.
Oh, thank you.
And the editing was great. Tom and you did a fantastic job on this morning's video.
Yeah, the editing, that's all Tom. So then credit to him for that. And he also gave me some pointers and stuff that I missed to make the video even more complete. But yeah, like writing that one took a little bit longer than usual, but people seemed responding to it, and that's the most important thing.
You know, for someone whose English is not your first language, you have an incredibly strong command of the right words and phrases to pick in order to get the point across. So congratulations. And that's from a guy who double majored in English literature at Stanford. So.
Oh, thank you. Just wait until I learn Spanish.
Claro que sí. Podemos hacer los videos en el Midnight Edge Español, el canal nuevo. Oh, sorry. Hit the SAP button, Andre. Sorry.
Exactly. I said the S word.
We got a great crowd. We got almost 400 people here. Welcome.
Yes, indeed. And speaking of great crowd, we also have another great guest joining us. Welcome, Mr. Chris Gore. How's it going?
I don't know. I just woke up. How's everybody doing? Hey, Mike. Hey, Andre.
Hi, Chris.
How are you guys?
Have you had coffee yet?
No.
Uh-oh.
I'm working on it.
Well, that is fantastic. Well, that's brilliant, because today we'll be talking about just some chill topics. Mostly Avatar, because we have a new trailer. I'm sure you've seen it already.
Yep.
There's going to be some multiverse of madness. Now we have some box office. We can do some more ranting about the movie now that more people have seen it. And I had a good time with it when I first saw it. On the whole, there was a lot I enjoyed about it. But the more I think about it, the more it infuriates me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Feel the hate, Andre. Let it consume you. Let the lack of plot overwhelm you. Let the lack of good acting compel you.
Well, the sad thing is that I do love my Marvel. Like, I was raised on Marvel. Like, I don't have a Star Wars other than Spaceballs in movies. But like in comics, Marvel is my Star Wars. I mean, that was my jam growing up. And I've always wanted the MCU. And I was like pinching my arm for a good 10 years. I can't believe it, that this is a dream come true. And just like WandaVision said, now the dream has become a nightmare.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way. I mean, there are certain Marvel movies where the opening, that little opening montage where you see all the characters. I never thought in my mind's eye that I'd actually see those characters on screen and portrayed in a way that was faithful to the comics. So there is part of me that feels that way. Having said that, I thought the movie was a mess. I've talked about it before, both here and on my Film Thread channel, but it's I think it's kind of a mess. I think it's, now each Marvel movie is sort of next Marvel product. This isn't a Doctor Strange movie as much as it's, a sequel to everything, the last 4 movies, and even Disney Plus shows now. And I was really surprised to see people, I mean, I'm not fully up to speed on all the Disney Plus stuff. So it's not as if I was confused, but I don't feel I should be obligated to watch all that stuff to enjoy it. And it's kind of reminds me of, when there are certain limited comic book series that I've really loved, like, for example, DC's Crisis on Infinite Earths. I mean, that was a 12-issue series that, was a multiverse story, right? Sort of fixing the multiverse, so to speak. But it also had all these spin-off, every characters I didn't care about or read had spin-offs and things that connected to it because it affected the entire DC universe at the time in the 80s. So It's a great series, but is it, was my enjoyment of it less because I didn't read every single spin-off? I kind of feel like we're reaching that point with Marvel. And also I think we're never going to get the high that we got from Endgame. That buildup was a decade.
Diminishing returns.
It's diminishing returns, and I also don't know exactly, are they building towards something? Because I don't know that they are. I mean,
Well, the problem is that they have given like 10 different clues towards things that they build towards. But there's like no clear narrative of anything that they're doing, which is quite unlike the phase 1 to 3 with the Infinity Saga.
right.
Where you didn't really see like anything. In phase 1, you had like the assembling of the Avengers. So
Yeah.
that was pretty clear and concise. And
Mhm.
then over the course of phase 2, that's when you were first introduced to the Infinity Stones. And it clicked perfectly because then very quickly you learned that, oh, we've already seen some Infinity Stones. That's what those things are. And
Right.
now we're getting some more context to it. And then at phase 3, all the storylines converged when you have with the Infinity War, with Thanos assembling everything and stuff like that. It was like the perfect like extra narrative outside of the narrative of each individual movie. Perfect storytelling. Whereas now, and I did the count, we are now 6 Disney Plus series and 4 movies in. And we have no clue. It just seems complete chaos. The only connection we have had so far is the connection from WandaVision to Doctor Strange, and the implicit one of Loki with the creation of the multiverse. And boy, did they mess that up by not having any kind of more references to Loki.
Yeah.
Instead, it was all WandaVision. And then I'm like thinking, the people that didn't see WandaVision, I mean, they must be so lost. And if they go back and they actually do watch WandaVision, they're going to be so disappointed.
Yeah, it's because, the last we saw Wanda, at least in the film series, is, she had lost vision and she came back from the snap and was a part of Endgame, and that was it. So then for her to turn over a thing of some children that she conjured,
In her
in
imagination.
her imagination that do
Yeah.
exist in a multiverse, is like, well, is that motivation enough? I mean, she's just going to murder people just to get to her kids, and we see her murder people. So
The
I'm not
way that I put it in the video I put up earlier today is that she is crazy, evil, and stupid.
right.
Crazy because she's completely obsessed about her imaginary kids. Because from her point of view, they are imaginary kids. And the ones that she has set her sights on are the ones that are in another universe where they've been raised presumably by a single mother. And you ask me, that looks like a really bad mother, and child services needs to be look into that, because children should not be singing those cutesy little songs and reaffirm their mother, the love for their mother, non-stop like that. That's a very needy mother those kids have. That's one thing. But anyway, she doesn't look into them because she wants to rescue them. No, she wants them for herself because they're so cutie. I mean, if she was going to rescue some kids or go and grab some kids from the multiverse, she might as well have gone for a multiverse where they were orphans or something. But no. She goes for the one thing where she can get the playthings that she wants, which only goes to show she doesn't want to rescue any kids. She doesn't want to raise any kids or something like that. That's why adoption is not on the table. She just wants these pre-packaged little kids that are going to affirm their love for her nonstop. That's what she wants. She's ultimately selfish.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she's crazy. And she's also evil because she doesn't care how many trillions upon trillions she has to kill to get these little kids that are going to affirm their love for her nonstop. And finally, as we established last time we spoke, she's stupid because if she had those kids in the multiverse, she's probably going to get those exact kids in this universe too, if she just finds a man to do it with.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I just think it's definitely one of those things that in the moment there are enjoyable, there are enjoyable sequences. I mean, I really like the 15 or 20% of the movie where Raimi was able to be himself, or you saw, a lot of things inspired by, Evil Dead. So that I quite enjoyed, but I think overall it's a mess. And also just, I the fact that it's, I mean, it did very well at the box office, right? And I'm in two minds about it. I'm a little distressed that a movie that is so flawed has done so well.
We'll get into the box office here, and before we talk about how good it's done, week 2 is still ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. We'll see. Hey, Tom, how's it going, man?
How's it going? I couldn't tell if Andre was talking about Wanda or Amber Heard there for a minute, but
No, actually the two are quite similar.
I know, I was joking.
I didn't
I
talk.
mean, this is like a fun thing where, like, and also I could totally see this Wanda crapping someone's bed. I could totally see that.
Well, that's why we have tweets out there of people like, well, so what if Amber is an abuser? Can't we just get behind her anyway? Just because she's a woman?
What? Really? Yikes.
Yeah, somebody put out a tweet like that. I shit you not.
Wow.
Yikes.
Many have said that. I mean, honestly, that's like those who are
Yeah.
like in the I stand with Amber Heard camp. That's really the only leg they have to stand on. That she's a woman, therefore we must stand with her anyway, even though the evidence says otherwise.
It's some juicy smell of that shit going on there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But anyway, yeah, I think it's funny because now you have like her, the real life crazy in the news at the same time as we have this similarly crazy in fiction. And that's like the issue. That if this Wanda were to find a flesh and blood man, she'd probably treat him kind of like Amber does.
Hey, I can solve the whole plot to the MCU. I know it's going to be offensive, but I don't care. I'm Mexican. I can say it. She wants kids so bad. There's tons of cousins I got that'll hook that up. And hey, Mexican Iron Man, I got to tell you, Mexican Iron Man was sitting there in the theater, and all I saw was Amber Heard for the first 20, 30 minutes of that thing in her. That's all I saw.
Yeah, your cousin be like, I heard you want some kids, Mamacita. Let's go.
Exactly. I mean, Chris, back me up. You're in LA. You know Mexicans. We don't just have like 1.5 children statistically. Hell no. Chris is like,
no.
don't make me say anything I'll regret on the video later. I'm like, okay, fine.
Exactly.
I'll own
That's
it.
why I'm keeping my mouth shut too.
I'll own it. I'm telling you, like plots. I'm sitting there the whole time, like, what? It's Cinco de Mayo.
Let's just put it this way: most Mexican families are very Catholic. They don't practice that age-old practice of.
I mean, I'd be like, let's say I met her at a bar. Hey, Scarlett, what's your last name? Witch? Oh, baby, I'm just gonna call you my bruja. That's how you say witch in Spanish. I'll say, baby, you're gonna be my bruja. Like, so, what's going on? What's troubling you? She's like, well, I feel like I want a couple kids. Well, let's finish this picture of margaritas and get started right now. I got a rabbit.
Comes from?
I got a rabbit. You ever heard of the rabbit chickens? I got one at my place. I'll show you my rabbit chicken. Yeah.
And Mike is obviously joking, but the fact of the matter is that would be the easy way out for Miss Scarlet Witch here.
She does.
That's why she's stupid, because she doesn't. I mean, even in reality, just look at Amber Heard. I mean, she was able to produce a child.
Well, even if she wanted,
although not from her own body,
let's look at it this way. Even if she wanted to get like artificially inseminated, it's not like she doesn't have a good pool of men to choose from. That I'm sure Vision would be more than happy for her, right? Like, I mean, at that point, I mean, plus he's dead, so I mean, the whole thing. This is phase 4 for us, guys. This is it. You're looking at it. I heard Andre going on about it before I got in here. It's like, what is the overarching story? And Chris, you said you couldn't even figure it out yourself. This is it. We just saw it. This is the only interconnecting thing that we have at this moment. Because after this point, what do we have left? We got Lady Thor, which has nothing to do with the multiverse as far as we can tell. And we got Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which has nothing to do with the multiverse as far as we can tell. So you've already gotten your entire...
Well, we still have the question of where the 10 bracelets came from in Shang-Chi.
Yeah, they're going to do a convergence and at one point in one of these next movies, and that's going to fix all that business. And then they're going to never talk about the multiverse again. You watch.
Probably.
Because the multiverse was never part of the plan. The plan was to go cosmic and Secret Wars and all that shit.
Yeah,
but
you have,
as
like,
you pointed out in your
sometimes we have
video, and I
Yeah.
have a kitty who just, it decides right now's the time to love Dad.
Oh.
Right now.
It's okay.
But
We all
anyway,
love Dad.
As you pointed out in your video this morning, I mean, the firing of James Gunn is what set this entire phase in motion.
Exactly. And Bust wonders, did you guys forget about Kang? No, we didn't forget about
No,
Kang.
they
but
did.
Doctor Strange sure did.
That's what I'm saying. They've wrapped up a lot. Like, look at that. That was my biggest gripe with Spider-Man. My main gripe with Spider-Man was, oh, you just wrapped up all the loose ends from part 3 pretty much in 5 minutes without even bothering telling us anything of how that happened. And then just jumping to the idea that Peter Parker just wants his friends to be able to go to college when there's a much broader story to be told here. And then that kind of gets kind of wrapped up in a bow, left open just enough for Doctor Strange, where I also sit there going, wait a minute, he's not even supposed to know who Spider-Man is, but he doesn't know who Peter is. They don't tell us that part. But
Yeah, exactly.
it's
So
still kind of
probably,
off
he
the-
probably has no recollection of what happened there.
Tom,
Yeah.
you know what the next brilliant Marvel plot will be? Is Spidey teams up with Doctor Strange in the new sequel, and not only do his friends go to college, they come up with an amazing way to fight oppression and get all the student loans forgiven.
That could happen.
Don't give them ideas because I mean that sounded way too plausible for comfort.
I mean, you guys didn't laugh. I thought that was a good one. Too real? Too soon?
Well,
Too
Trav
soon?
101, I'm just going to answer his question here. No, they really fired James Gunn. That was an Alan Horn snafu.
It was, yeah. And
We
it's
had
ruined-
most
and
of the
it-
rumors
yeah.
we heard confirmed in that Alan Horn made the call, didn't call anybody else. Bob Iger and Kevin Feige lost their shit. And in between there, before anybody could get anything sorted out, James Gunn was like, all right, fuck y'all, peace out, and jumped ship to DC. And signed a contract with Suicide Squad because they fired him. And that's how we know they had to have fired him, because contractually there's no way he could have signed up for Suicide Squad instead, because he'd have been under
Let alone
contract.
Peacemaker and that upcoming Suicide Squad spin-off series that is
And that's why
coming.
he had to do the Suicide Squad first before he could come back and do Guardians of the Galaxy 3, because they fucked up and fired him.
Well, I think it's good because it gives James Gunn leverage when he comes back, for Guardians 3. I feel like it just gives him a little bit more weight.
We'll
as
get
a-
ready for Thor 3, and as far as I know, Guardians 3 basically having the same plot.
I mean, it's weird when you hear, like, this is the same company, right? And you hear people like Taika Waititi and directors like James Gunn getting kind of free reign, and then a director like Sam Raimi is like, nah, reshoot 80% of this. So why are some directors allowed the opportunity to express themselves and have their vision and their personality be a part of the films that they make? I mean, there's definitely Taika Waititi has a vision and a personality. So does James Gunn, and certainly Sam Raimi has. But why was Sam Raimi not allowed to have that? Was he just not? I don't know. And who knows? Maybe the reshoots had something to do with the changing of the schedule, and it maybe had something to do with
We have a video coming about that, actually.
yeah. So we don't know the ins and outs of this stuff. We're merely speculating. It's just it's very interesting when you see some directors are given free reign and then others are controlled or in some cases cast.
I have a question for Tom and maybe Chris or Andre, whoever knows this. I'm absolutely fascinated by hearing that the movie was cut down from 2 hours and some high number of minutes. I think it was 247 or 248 or something that they had in footage, down to what was the theatrical version we got. What was cut out? Does anyone know exactly?
Not offhand, but Andre has heard a few things, it sounds like. But no, just to go back to what we just said before we jump to that point. I mean, this is kind of an idea, and this isn't even complete. This is at a point where you just kind of give up because you can't fucking move this shit no more. Like, look at this board here. Like, we have no idea when Black Panther 2 is even supposed to be out, right? We know the Marvels got flip-flopped and all this other business with Ant-Man, which isn't even on here. So this is where they're at with this thing, and we've never seen this in a prior Marvel phase. Sure, we've had 1 or 2 movies that have moved here and there, but never to this extent.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like this is insanely crazy how much they've had to move these movies. Now, granted, some of this was because of COVID, right? We can give them a little bit of leeway on that, but that's not for a lot of this, because a lot of these things were filmed before and in the can before COVID even happened, right? For instance, like the Miss Marvel series that's been shot and done for 2 years now, and then completely reshot. And to go back to the thing as far as like what could have been deleted or whatever, I mean, we got the same thing with Joss Whedon and Jon Favreau before, with Iron Man 2 and Avengers 2 respectively, because they were a much larger film that got truncated down, and I feel like those films suffered because of it. And I feel like we have another situation here like that, and that's what takes away from this movie possibly feeling like an actual Doctor Strange sequel and less like a WandaVision epilogue, right? Because that's, to me, I think this movie's biggest sin. And I don't know what came out, Mike, at this point. Probably more Doctor Strange stuff. Probably stuff between him and his wife. I mean, Andre, do you have any idea of what came out or what changed between that and the reshoots, or what different version could be possibly gotten?
Well, I'm still doing some vetting and stuff like that, but from what I can tell, we would have gotten largely the same movie in either event. It was details in the execution that changed, but not anything major story-wise.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This story arc is kind of concluded at this point, because Love and Thunder is about, basically Thor, getting back with Jane and them dealing with her cancer and her becoming Lady Thor. And then last we knew about Guardians of the Galaxy 3, it's supposed to be about, Star-Lord wanting his Gamora back. So.
Yeah.
Tom, your internet. Hello?
Yeah, Tom, you cut out.
Oh, he's out. One of the things I found fascinating is
finding lost loves. So that's the end of the phase, guys. I can hear you guys just fine. This is stupid. I'm sick of this internet. You guys hear me?
You disappeared for like a good minute there.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, we hear you now, but you
basically all I said is the last 2 movies. I said the last couple movies of this phase are basically people going to find lost loves. So that has nothing really to do with the multiverse, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, and that's a testament to what happened when they removed James Gunn, because this whole phase, this is, oh shit, the architect disappeared. Now let all of the other underlings that never had any business doing this, they all got battlefield promotions have to conjure something up.
We had a fascinating conversation late Friday night with Culture and I. We're on Loki's late night show, and I asked him to start naming people that he thought were in the cameos that, to his knowledge and information, had been filmed, which we had seen in various leaks. And I think it was like 0 and 9. I mean, so either these things were never shot, or they were shot and they were cut out for whatever reasons.
I don't think there was ever this huge amount of cameos.
I don't think they were ever filmed.
No, I think the extent of what we got was what was supposed to be there, and that's it.
Yeah. I agree. But that's also,
they would have paid for a cameo with Tom Cruise and not put it in the movie.
What were you saying, Chris?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I just think that like the fan speculation about what was going to be in this film is just sort of shows how great the concept of a multiverse is. I'm just surprised that the multiverse wasn't the climax of some larger arc, that it was broken in Spider-Man, Spider-Man No Way Home. It has affected things, and it affects things going forward in all the, like the Infinity Stones, right? There'd be some multiverse shenanigans in every Marvel movie that would just sort of be clues and then build up to the having to fix the multiverse. And I think it's kind of a wasted concept when you look at, and I'm not sure if you've seen this movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I've been hearing about it, but I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it's starring Michelle Yeoh, and it's a better multiverse story.
That's what people are saying.
It's a much better use of the concept. I mean, it's an indie movie, right? But this little indie movie's made a ton of money for what it cost. And it's incredibly creative because what it's about, and this is all in the trailer, so it's not particularly spoilerish, but the character Evelyn is this woman who owns a laundromat, and she's being investigated by the IRS. This woman who's head of the investigation is Jamie Lee Curtis, and she's the villain. I mean, she's awful. But what's interesting is her husband from another multiverse finds her and gives her the ability to access other traits that she has in other multiverses. And in other multiverses, she's a chef, she's a famous actress, she's a martial artist, it's a cool concept. So she's able to kind of download into her brain, Matrix style, like the ability that she acquired in the different version of her from another universe. It's such an amazingly creative concept. I have issues with the movie. I think it's too long, and I think it needed really to focus on her and not a lot of the side quests that really aren't a big part of it. But it's such a great, like, seeing that before Multiverse of Madness really, to me, it shows what a letdown the concept is. The concept is so great of a multiverse, and especially when you having read other multiverse stories in the comics, both DC and Marvel, you see how that concept is utilized. And it was underutilized in this to focus on Wanda and her search in the multiverse for kids she never had. I don't know what, so, and then just her, like I say, if you've only watched the movies, to see her turn as a character is probably a bit shocking. It's not as if, characters going from good to bad isn't something that we've seen both in films and comics. It's just sort of sudden here that's the thing that drives her. You'd think she'd found, at least explore another way or something. And I don't know, man. So
they typically go through an arc before they turn as crazy, evil, and stupid as this.
I guess, but the arc was in a TV show that not everybody has seen. So,
even there, I don't think it was really an arc.
That's an issue. That's an issue. So I just have a problem with the fact that the concept was underutilized, and it should have been saved for maybe the climax of phase 4, 5, and 6. The climax should have been the multiverse. Then you could have had all those cameos.
I think that's the way it was meant to be, Chris.
Yeah.
I think things got flipped around.
They rushed to it. This is the Batman v Superman of multiverse movies.
Because you have this problem of Endgame truncating this idea of the multiverse being created. And because that's kind of where Doctor Strange and Endgame and Infinity War are saying there's only one outcome of this. Because when he goes and he's looking at different times, there's no multiverse at that point, right? That's the whole point of Hulk saying you can't change the past. We can only go forward and do certain things, because if you go from the past here, from this point, it's no longer the same place you left from. Like, that makes sense if there's only one timeline, right? And then when you have the whole multiverse creation, which makes no fucking sense because they already technically have this, or why would you have that organization there? Like, none of this, it all feels like it was Legos built backwards, and they didn't think it through quite correctly, because then you have the whole Spider-Man, the second film, the way that handled it, and at the end they were just like, no, the multiverse was just bullshit. Like, so which is it, guys? Because you kept kind of bouncing around this idea, like you were setting up the idea that the multiverse exists, but you hadn't really established the rules yet, and that's the way Infinity War and Endgame were set up. And I mean, it could have been a much broader idea. It did sound like that's kind of what Feige was going for, because that's when he introduced the idea to the Russos in Endgame, with ending the film with a whole new version of all the characters, but younger, so they could replace the other actors, right?
Right.
So that's one of the motivations of why they're replacing a lot of these characters. Some of it, obviously, is they want more women representation for the ESG scores and all that business. But the other side of it is, plus, the legal side, that they're losing a lot of these characters. The third part of it is, these people are not getting any cheaper. The reason Endgame was so fucking expensive has little to do with the special effects and all that business, and everything to do with most of the cast members getting multi-million-dollar contracts being paid out for this movie. For instance, I think it was what's his face, Paul Rudd, got like 8 million or 13 million or somewhere in between there for this one. And he's only in the movie for like 10 minutes. If that. I mean, that's why that movie costs so much money, and that's what they're trying to get away from. They can't afford to pay Robert Downey Jr., $15 million every time he comes in to play Iron Man.
Right. Well, I mean, look, when they hire one of these actors that they know is going to be one of their, premier A-list heroes, they need to have that arc planned before. They need to know they're going to have, you know, they're going to be in 4 movies and they're going to have 6 cameos, right? To be able to bring them back over the course of a decade and then map it out. And it's not as if that decade of Avengers films that built to Endgame, you know, I mean, I think it was partially planned out, but a lot of it was luck. A lot of it was fortuitous. And they had also the creativity of Favreau, Gunn, and Robert Downey Jr., who's not given enough credit for really driving the Marvel universe. The other person I really miss is Stan Lee. You know, we've seen a couple movies now without his cameo. It was always a great moment. I know that they shot a lot of other cameos for Stan Lee that never actually made the screen.
Yep.
No, I think that they got everyone out there because
No. What I mean is that, I mean, I know for a fact because I know, you know, Stan Lee's bodyguard back in the day. His
Okay.
name was Max, and anyone who's dealt with Stan Lee knows Max. A guy who is, I mean, he could beat the crap out of me, but I mean, it's a big dude who doesn't take any guff, but also, you know, he's kind of a Marvel super fan himself. I mean, he was showing me things before the first Thor movie came out. You know, there's a place in the Los Angeles area. This is the east side of LA. Mike, you might be more familiar with the east side of LA.
No, that would be a Poly department. I'm from
That would be a
Silicon
Poly
Valley.
department. Okay, good.
Yeah, that would be Poly's that kind of Mexican.
Well-
I'm a NorCal Mexican.
Okay. But when you're down here, you got to go to a thing called Frankensons, which is basically like the merch side of San Diego Comic-Con, but it's, you know, it's on Wednesdays and Saturdays, and it's great. You go there and it's it's just stuff to buy, you know, but they also do like autograph signings and whatnot. And Stan Lee will be there just for fun. What it's like, you know, I mean, collectors and super fans know about Frankensons. It's sort of legendary, but Stan Lee would be there, and I'd, you know, it was just like, oh my God, he's like right there. I'm just gonna, you know, talk to him and get an autograph, you know. But, you know, they, for each of the Marvel movies, because they weren't exactly sure what they could do, they would always shoot Stan Lee and do multiple cameos. So in the can, there are cameos that were shot for movies that were never actually used. One in particular was for Thor. I don't know if I've talked about this before, but for the first Thor movie, Stan Lee, it's late at night. He's driving through the desert. He hits something, boom, in his truck, like runs over something in the road. Like, what the hell? Gets out of his truck. Stan Lee walks right over and he sees Mjolnir, picks it up and says, what the hell is this doing in the road? And throws it off to the side.
Why do I feel like I've seen this somewhere before?
Maybe it was used in some montage.
Could have
But
been.
yeah, maybe it was used in a montage, but it was never in the movie, right? Because
sounds amazing though.
yeah, they didn't want to diminish Thor, right? I mean, sounds funny that they were thinking back then things like that. We don't want to diminish Thor as a hero in order to make a joke with a cameo with Stan Lee. We actually want to respect the powers of Thor.
Now
and
they'll destroy
Mjolnir.
Asgard for it.
It's exact, but you know what I mean? It's just like, so that was a cameo that was shot and never used. It may have been seen because they've done these montages of like Stan Lee tributes, or it might have even been a deleted scene on the Thor DVD. But I
think
know
it might have been on the deleted scenes because I think I've seen that somewhere.
yeah.
before.
So my point is that when Stan Lee would come in, they were like, well, he's definitely in the movie, but we don't know how and where. Right? There's that
Well,
one.
that makes sense because you have choices then, because you never know what sequences are always going to end up in what way in the film.
Exactly. We got to
don't
cut
want to risk
the
him getting
scene.
cut out. Yeah.
Isn't there a scene? There was a scene in Winter Soldier that was cut where Stan Lee's at a cafe and they're just talking about Wi-Fi, right? Like, isn't that one of the scenes? That was a deleted scene. I mean, Stan Lee's in
Wasn't there more of him and Lou Ferrigno playing the guards in Hulk as well?
that. I don't remember, but I just know that for, you know,
Or no, because he wasn't one of the guards. And was that the first?
That
Hulk
was the
movie?
2003
Okay,
movie.
I was getting them mixed
But
up.
the
my
two
bad.
of them were talking about beefing up security. There
Yeah.
was an extra scene with the two of them filmed for that.
I was going to
Yeah.
say, yeah, but I'm getting the two movies mixed up now. Yeah.
And
Anyway,
can we beef up the number of likes on this stream? We've got 1,300 people watching. We need more likes here,
And
people.
we're
We
going to
need
get the
slap
super
that
chats
like
here
button.
real quick. But Chris, you were about to finish the thought.
Oh no.
Sorry.
So just to finish my thought is that I miss Stan Lee. There are certain things you check off in the movie. One is a shirtless scene, a male shirtless character. We got that in the opening scene. No, it's a trope. You know what I mean? I I mean, there's a series of videos on the Film Threat YouTube channel. Just look up topless Avengers. I'm not kidding.
I believe you. I do.
Yeah, like that's a trope, and one of the or that's just a thing. It's sort of a thing that checks off, and then more and more the things they're checking off on the checklist of things that have to be in a Marvel movie is, there are things that I don't think make the movies better, right? The checklist used to be, let's make it entertaining, let's make it fun, let's make it accessible, let's be true to the original characters, let's have our male characters get topless so we can show that they're buff, which
let's
actually
get the ladies in there.
Yeah, ladies love that, and there's nothing wrong with that, and that's cool. Let's make the costumes actually accurate to the comics, but also real world,
tactical, and all
practical. Like Captain America's costume is great, and the way that it was like came from some Broadway show is kind of funny, like being used to sell war bonds and stuff like that's. It's all organic and it's incredibly creative, and so I love that. I love that those things are being respected. But now I think we're getting into a territory that maybe fewer people don't notice. I think we notice that, we can recognize that, wow, this movie's kind of a mess and a missed opportunity. And that's sort of my take on Doctor Strange. It doesn't mean that there's not entertaining moments. It doesn't mean that, you can't enjoy it, I guess, for what it is. But to me, it does not bode well for the future. And
I didn't hate it as much as everybody else either, but at the same time, like, I can't defend it as a movie, Chris. That's my problem, right?
Right.
It's not a full-on experience to where, like you just said, like, if you don't see WandaVision, chances are you're going to be completely fucking lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I checked out halfway through, but luckily there's this little, like, 2 or 3 minute vignette thing on Disney Plus where they go through all the characters. If you watch the Wanda clip, it gives you all the information you need to know. Basically, how it ends the show and everything. But yeah, so
I just don't want to feel obligated to read everything.
I don't want to do homework. Exactly.
That's why my comic book reading is really relegated to, collected. And look, this is, you can out me as like, well, that's not a real fan. It's like, look, I'm a reader, not a collector. And I like to just buy that, like, oh, is this the collection? Is this Batman Hush? Right. This is everything I need to read. Good. I'm going to spend $20-$30 on that. And I'm just going to read that. And I don't feel obligated to like buy them when they were coming out. I mean, look, I bought the Dark Knight Returns when it was like coming out, like every 3 months, there'd be a new Dark Knight Returns, or, every month there was a new issue of Watchmen, and of course, both of those got delayed.
Oh, you didn't get the special Rorschach 5-issue special? That you got to read that too, or you?
Well, no,
no, I know, I'm joking. I'm making a point though.
Exactly, but they didn't do that, and that's what sort of turned me off the comics, is because at a certain point, like back in the 80s and 90s, I had an addiction. I was spending $50 on comics.
Well, they knew you guys did, and us too, because that's why they did so many variant covers and shit, because they know we'd buy them all.
Yeah, well, I didn't get sucked in with.
You're spending $50 a week. That was my budget. That's pretty.
And then there's the hologram covers and all that. Like,
you got to remember though, $50 a week for a budget for comic books back then, it'd be like $200-$300.
Yeah,
now.
that's what I mean.
But that's what I mean. Yeah,
Chris, I have to say, kudos to you for not falling for the predatory practices with multiple covers and limited editions and all that jam.
Or hologram. Because
I have to say that really comic book collectors.
You mean you didn't get all the 3D holograph and boast
of all the horrible stuff that has happened to the comic book industry, because they've been right there enabling all of the hostile deceptive practices.
Exactly.
Well, it's ground zero for a lot of this shit.
Yeah,
because it's such an easy place for it to start. But go ahead, Chris.
I just don't want my movies to be that. You know what I mean?
No, I agree with you.
And there's a reason. Like, I just like, I sort of begrudgingly watched Game of Thrones, and I'm like, oh, there's stuff that I like in this, because I watched it at the beginning. I was like, there's too many characters. It's too complex. I'm out. I hear the books are great. Maybe one day I'll read them. Then I got sucked back in and I watched it to the end, and I was like, all right, it's fine. They kind of rushed that ending. That was really quick. 8 years of build up to that. Okay. Fine, but I know that the hardcore people, like Gary Buechler, among others, who really knew the books well, hated it, and I can see why. It was very dissatisfying.
Well, there's a lot of shows that happen too, especially in that era. It feels like, I mean, we had Dexter and
I mean,
Mad Men and a few others. Yeah,
exactly. Well, Dexter shit the bed on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Terrible, yeah. But the up until a couple of years ago, it was like we were treated to 1, 2, in a good year, 3 Marvel movies, and it was special. It was an event. It's not special
absolutely.
anymore. It's
I
all
think
on Disney Plus. All the movies are on Disney Plus. All the series are on Disney Plus. I don't want to feel obligated to spend 40 hours of my time watching that stuff. I like, give me a couple hours a year and make it something big and worth my time.
Well,
But like all this stuff has made it, the Disney Plus series have diminished the brand and they've made it less special. Now there are people that argue with me and say, but look at the box office, look at the money. But creatively speaking, Doctor Strange, 2 years from now, are you going to care? I don't know. You know what I mean? And whereas, you can watch that first Guardians of the Galaxy movie or some of the best of the Marvel movies now, and they hold up. They're timeless. And I think the stuff we're getting now is not going to be timeless. I think it's going to be forgettable as a Disney Plus series. I just think that's where we're headed.
No, I think you're 100% right. I think the Marvel universe is starting to crush under the weight of itself.
Right.
It has way too much. No, you're 100% right. I mean, I think you kind of.
I would also submit, though, it's a producer issue because
it's
starting to crush under the weight of itself. But the reason it does that is because of poor brand management. It didn't have to do that. I mean, with the right management, in which they try to keep the interconnectivity to a minimum, because if they don't, then eventually it's going to come back to bite them. But keep it at a minimum. Have it interconnected where it matters, and when you don't need it, keep it separate and focus on each individual storyline. They could keep it going forever. But purely due to mismanagement, because of activists and incompetent storytellers and people that don't understand how it's been able to keep going in the comics for as long as it did, but also who can't learn from the mistakes they did in the comics, because of that, it's crushing under its own weight. But that's because they made it obese.
Well, you add another issue in there, and that's the contractual problem, right? You can use almost any character you want in a comic book. It doesn't matter. You don't have to pay extra to bring in that character, usually, unless you have to pay a specific artist. In this case, you have a problem, and that is a fundamental issue where, like I said, you have all these main characters. That's a lot of money that has to be paid out. And that's the problem we had with a movie like Doctor Strange. And to go off of Chris's original point and some of the other things you guys just said here, and I think to kind of wrap this in a bow and get us into Super Chats, because you guys have been infinitely patient out there in the chat. Thank you so much. Is that basically I think that this movie did this last weekend, built off the momentum of Spider-Man, because Doctor Strange was in Spider-Man. Not this many people went to see this movie because they watched WandaVision. In fact, I think a lot of people were probably the reason we probably had such a divisive reaction to this film is I don't think that many people really did watch WandaVision. That's the problem. And I think that's where you get into this, and this reminds me of the whole situation back when, the Marvel Universe was this new thing, and there's people still discovering this idea that you had multiple movies building up to this Avengers level event, right? I remember having this quaint conversation, with a woman who loved the Thor films but had no fucking clue of any of the other Marvel movies. And I said, yeah, Thor's in this too. And I showed her the Avengers, and she's like, what? And so she had no idea because she'd just seen the first 2 Thor movies, and that's it. Because she liked Chris Hemsworth. So like at that point, you still had people that had not even seen Iron Man or Captain America and had any idea that the Avengers were a thing. And now we've got this point where you're sitting here watching Doctor Strange and you're like, well, where's Spider-Man? Well, this is an Avenger level event. He just said he could use an Avenger. He knows a few. I mean, like, you're getting to this point where you're asking all those questions, and then you have all the other, mundane, stupid things that come with a normal film, and it's just kind of underneath itself. And what was the name of that movie again? I always forget it, Chris, because you did Chris Recommends. The World and Everything in It, or what's it called again?
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
All at Once. That's what. Yeah, I always muck it up.
It's a better look. I'm telling you, go see that movie. It's still in theaters, and it's a better multiverse. It's a better use of the concept of multiverse, and it's very creatively done. I mean, you just need to see it, and it's. I think that's between that and the fan speculation about what Doctor Strange 2 was going to be, it ended up being disappointing for that. I mean, that's not really fair, but I think it shows that the concept was used too quickly. Like I said, I compared it to Batman v Superman, right? Like DC wanted to rush. They wanted to rush. It's like, well, let's just get the Justice League together. Hurry. Let's do this. They didn't build to it like Marvel had the patience to do, right? And so I think that was the problem with the multiverse. They should have built to it, because it is a big concept that could have been. It could have been. I mean, the speculation was this is going to be bigger than Endgame and have even more cameos with Deadpool and all, and that would have been awesome. I would have loved to have seen the movie that fans speculated that Doctor Strange 2 was going to be. But we probably need to get to these super chats. I just want to say hail to the chat and thank you for listening to my rants. So,
Chris recommends.
We need can we get a Chris rants one done?
We got a Mexican Iron Man rant one.
No, I didn't rant though.
Stole it.
Yeah,
Oh,
Paulie hijacked mine. But no, let's do super chats, everybody. Thanks for the likes. We got 1,400 people here. Keep those likes coming, and here we go with super chats.
We got a little Shiba dog giving us how's it going from Dearest here. That one I can see. But after that, I'm not so sure. We'll see. Then we got Glade Ribbon in the house who says, Hail Midnight's Edge and chat. The diversity inclusion hires will be the first out the door when restructuring comes. Let's hope so, but we'll see how long that takes. And that's another thing I think overall, I think that changed more so, right, is the Hollywood changing in general around Kevin Feige. Because before that, he was just making a couple of, comic book movies. Now he's got all this other things he's got going on with it that I mentioned before, too. The license issue, which added in with, the equity thing and everything else that is clearly destroying the film outside of the normal things that could have come in and happened, and so I think that's a big problem. What do you guys think? Do you think they're going to be out the door first? I don't know. I think it's a slow moving boat over.
Nope, they're going to be the last to go because they go kicking and screaming, and it's politically perceived as unattractive and unpopular to do so. They should be the ones first to go since they created this mess. I will tell you this much: I was glad that the woke heroes died fast, hard, and funny, and Strange too. That was pretty fun.
Yeah. I would say that they're not going to go in at one time. They'll go one at a time, so no one can tell there's a purge.
Yeah, we've kind of seen a little bit of it, but I think Disney's going to be the slower moving one of all of them, probably.
Well, look, I'm hearing. I talked to friends in the industry, and they're saying, there's a purge that's happening. One, the tide's kind of turning, and people kind of openly are kind of mocking woke stuff. Like that's starting to happen, right? Or at least joking, like roll to the eyes, like we need more of those movies, right? Like so that's happening. The thing is that just like when this stuff isn't performing, I mean that's what's going to happen, right? I know that Netflix in particular is going to have another round of layoffs. Part of that has to do with the fact, and this is why Hollywood dislikes Netflix. A friend of mine explained this to me. They overpaid for everything. So when they brought in people, they were the reason they were able to collect some of the best people in Hollywood is they just overpaid for every position. So a normal position that would pay like 75 grand, they were paying 125. And it was crazy. So they were getting people best in their category to come over to Netflix, which is why Hollywood hated Netflix, because they couldn't compete, because they bought their way. It's kind of like, the New York Yankees, right? They sort of buy their way into like the best roster. And that's really what the, what Netflix did. They bought their way into and gathered the best roster in Hollywood. I mean, that's why their movies, deserved or not, get so much Oscar recognition now, in terms of nominations and whatnot, because they hired the person who, and I forget her name. She is the publicist who basically ran all the Harvey Weinstein Oscar campaigns. I mean, she knows how to play that game. But now, they've spent themselves into, backed themselves into a corner while they bought position. Now they're vulnerable. So I think you're going to see Netflix making very different choices. Not just going to be a purge of people there, but you're going to see content choices that will be different. That's what I'll say. So, and that's all I have to say about that. I know we're behind.
I've heard some rumors of the beginning purges at Disney, but
it's really?
But one person here, one person there, not many enough that you can really tell in such a huge corporation, but very strategic. That's what I've heard.
Well, I think that we're starting to see more remnants of the final That's why we've had no less than 2 or 3 actors that they've tried to cancel in the last couple of weeks. Between Frank Langella, of all people, and then, Bill Murray, of course, and then Fred Savage. Like, what the fuck? Like, where did this come from? But I have no idea the exacts on the last one per se. But
I mean, look,
first two are pretty questionable from what I've read.
Yeah, but look, let's get to these known predators: Fred Savage, Frank Langella, and Bill Murray. and what's interesting about every single story, because I read all those stories, and I'm like, what did they actually do? And everything is either non-specific, generic, like Fred Savage.
They yelled at us.
Yelled, exactly. Well, look, I've worked plenty of jobs where people yelled. It happens sometimes.
Les Grossman from the Tom Cruise character in
that's
Tropic Thunder exists for a fucking reason. And not
Well,
only that,
the movie Swimming with Sharks. The movie
There you go. I was going to say, not only that, the character that Grossman plays is actually a parody, because they're like, you look at, he's based on Weinstein and Joel Silver and a few other guys in Hollywood, and I can't remember the other guy he's loosely based on, but those guys are a hell of a lot worse than they portray them in the movie. That's the point, right?
Yeah.
Like,
they're real. But no, but this is very concerning, and that there's no interest whatsoever in getting down to specifics, and that people's reputations. Bill fucking Murray, who was, one of the funniest people on SNL, who there would be no Ghostbusters without Bill Murray, as well as Stripes, an American classic, a very American movie. Go back and watch that.
It's classic.
It's great. I mean, and Bill Murray also in his later career, doing dramas. Bill fucking Murray, I would think that if there was, what I'm going to guess, he's probably funny on the set, and he probably makes an inappropriate joke here and there. And the same thing happened to John Lasseter. He was hugging people inappropriately or whatever. I mean, the guy's very affectionate. I don't know. Probably
I heard that was blown out of proportion too.
That was blown out of proportion too. And he, as far as I'm concerned, they're firing the wrong people. They're getting rid of John fucking Lasseter.
I actually heard the inside track on Lasseter, and you would not believe how
it's you know what? I'm sorry. If you can't hack it, you're gone. You're gone.
No,
That's
basically
it.
Lasseter was booted because there was younger, more diverse people who felt like their voice was not being heard, and Lasseter was taking their ideas and ruining them.
Well, I don't know about that, but you know what I mean?
In fact, he was actually the reason the company was staying afloat. You notice the moment he got booted, everything went to fucking hell.
Yeah, well, yes, but it's just, I feel like you've really got to look at like who is, what low level person is making these charges, and what exactly are they? And you know what? Part of like being on a film set, because I've made films, right? And you're doing late night shoots, and it's crazy. And look, I heard about things that happened on my film set that like you got people hooking up. It happens sometimes. People hook up. It's fine. The set's over. They and there's even a phrase for it. There's a phrase for that. It's called, it's not love, it's location. So people go off on a location on a film set, and they have a toward romance. And once they're out of the location, that relationship ends. It happens all the time on film sets. Okay. And people need to be adults. And I think part of the problem is we have a generation of children. It really bears out when you read the people who are upset on social media. They're not adults. These are children. And if they are adults, they're usually people with agendas for why they're complaining. So when I see these things against Frank Langella, Fred Savage, and Bill fucking Murray, excuse my language.
No, but that's the way you say his name. Apologies
to the chat. But, I really think and the fact that you can't be specific about it. Well, he made a part of being on a film set is freaking tension.
They use the term inappropriate in the headlines, but if you notice, and we did, I think Andre and I did a really great video breaking this whole thing down. At no point is he accused of anything sexual,
right,
or anything like assault. And if you go through Kiki's entire rant, none of that in there says anything other than he was being Bill Murray.
Yeah, exactly. So you're working with Bill Murray. You should be happy he's making jokes. I mean, Robin Williams was accused of that constantly. I mean, this is why there's some interesting stories about how Christopher Nolan couldn't stand working with Robin Williams on that movie. What was it? That movie with
Insomnia.
Insomnia, yeah, where because Robin Williams is always on. There's not like a moment where and like, Christopher Nolan's a certain type of director, right? So like you don't need your talent to be on entertaining the crew while you're trying to make a freaking movie, right? There's money being spent. There's being on a film set when there's money being spent and you're trying to make your day. It can be tense. And part of the ways to break the tension on a stress-filled film set is to make jokes. I've been there. I've made jokes. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, exactly. Joel Reese, Tom Cruise's more asleep than you awake.
So don't worry about apologizing. For
okay, well then I'm not going to apologize.
You're 100% right. And of course now we know part of Robin's issue was just, his medical condition, but yeah, still.
He had a lot of issues, but if that's the worst you can say about the guy, if he's trying to entertain the crew, that's not a terrible thing about Robin Williams. And I'm going to guess Bill Murray too. He was probably part of making jokes. And this is why, jokes requires intelligence. And I think that we have a diminishing intellect around it. People almost looking for things to be offended by. And fuck that. I'm not hiring anybody that doesn't have a sense of humor ever to work with, ever. Like that's just not my policy. You got to know how to hang, which is we can make jokes. We take our work seriously, but we don't take ourselves seriously. And this is a group of people who take themselves too seriously, and fuck them. Don't hire them. If they're at Twitter, fire them and purge. There needs to be a different type of purge, which is people that basically are not contributing to actual work. I have, from what, like how Elon works, that guy suffers no fools. He's not taking that kind of shit. I mean, I don't know if you saw, it leaked his presentation about how he intends to fix Twitter. And I
didn't hear that part, but
the ideas are great. He's going to fire 1,000 people. He's going to fire 1,000 people. He's going to offer a program where if you identify yourself, you pay like $3 a month. Basically anybody can get verified, right? So you're going to have that. You're just going to have the edit button. It's like all the things people have been asking for. He's going to increase the revenue. It's going to take till 2028. He's going to respect the laws regarding free speech. It's like, it's if it's within the scope of the laws, it's allowed, and that goes for everybody. So he's going to take it from being, biased left to just unbiased, which is what it should have been from the beginning. That was the promise of what it was supposed to be. So I'm excited for what you can look it up. I think there's it's all around. He had like some PowerPoint or deck or something that was created with his, like, he didn't raise that money just like out of the blue, like he had to prove, like, this is my plan of what I'm going to do in the next 5 years, 5-6 years to fix Twitter, to bring it to profitability, make it, a multi-billion-dollar company, actually worth the money he's paying for, which it's not right now. He's overpaying, but he'll make it back in the long run. I'm just saying that you can spot him on a film set. And it's always a friend of mine who's a director says, you have to fire someone within the first week, if not the first day. Because what it does, it shows you're in charge. You probably heard this before. Yeah. Like, you got to find someone that's trouble, find someone that's complaining, find someone that's like not, that just like is, like
not Bill Murray.
It's a negative energy. It's a negative energy on a film set, and everybody needs to work like clockwork. And if you're like Michael Bay, he runs his sets like it's a military operation. Same thing, James Cameron, same way.
There's only one way you handle this. You go to Kiki, you sit her down and go, look, I get it. You were upset by Bill's joke, whatever it was, but we're making a multi-million-dollar production here. And the only reason it's a multi-million-dollar production is because Bill Murray's involved. So
exactly.
Get over yourself.
Yeah, but then you're in a position now that if you fire that person because they can't hang, so to speak, then is she going to go to the press? And
that's where I think they're at an impasse right now,
I don't know.
Chris.
Tell your story. And this is why Ray Fisher, his story never kind of got traction.
It's because he couldn't back it up. And no, you're exactly right, Chris. And this is why I think they're at an impasse, is because he's saying, I'm willing to work with her. She's saying, I'm not willing to work with him. And they're stuck in this precarious position where this is the first time where normally they would fire her, but they can't because she happens to be a black woman. That's why. And they won't say what the joke is, because I guarantee you, if the joke got out in the press, everybody be like, Why are they having a big fucking brouhaha about this whole thing? See, I used your word, Mike.
Yeah, brouhaha is a good word.
Yeah, that's right, Sadie. Indeed, I used brouhaha. Yes, sorry about that. But no, like, and I think it really is this point of he's trying to work with them, she's not, and she's using this point of power to try and further her career, let's say. And it's just like the Ray Fisher thing, and there's no evidence of it. It's kind of like what we found out about the Charlie's Angels thing. It was a big much to do about nothing. Did you know what he said? Did you ever hear what he actually said?
No, I'm curious.
No, this is what he said. I guess they were sitting there, and he got pissy, and he goes to all the girls. He goes, you can't act. And then he got to Lucy Liu, and he goes, I don't even know why the hell you're here.
Oh, wow.
So that's why they're all backing her up on that. It was really much to do about nothing from what I heard. That's the version of what I heard happened, is he was just pissy because they weren't being in the moment and whatever it was at the time in the scene. So then they reshot that scene without him later on is what happened.
Yeah. I don't know. All I can say is this: film sets are tense, and humor. Look, humor is how my family would break tension whenever there was drama in my family. You would just kind of make fun of the person that was in the drama, get them to laugh about themselves at what bullshit it was. And I think that just my personality, I like to, I'm not going to get. It takes a lot for me to be really mad at somebody. It just takes a lot, but humor is the best way to handle a lot of things. Humor is probably the best weapon against woke culture right now is humor. Memes. I mean, that to me is like winning the war is jokes. I mean, Elon Musk schooled AOC with one joke that threw in her face a comment that she had said to multiple people, which is a narcissistic, bizarre thing to put out there. And he blew her out of the water. So I think Elon knows how to use Twitter in the right way, and humor. I mean, look, it's, humor is just a great tool, and it's sad to me that people don't understand that. And if they don't understand that, they really should not be on film sets. And there needs to be some more, some vetting, not necessarily asking questions directly as someone, where do you stand on wokeness? I think that's a bit too direct, but you need to know people need to have a sense of humor. People need to have a sense of humor, even if jokes are made about themselves. They need to be able to make jokes about themselves. And if a joke is made about, I would be honored if Bill Murray made a joke about me. It would be the delight. It'd be a story I could tell for years, and I would love that. And you've got a group of people that have decided to be humorless, and fuck them. Don't hire them. Don't get them involved in your organization. Extricate them so they can really begin to think about, like, why am I really doing this? Or maybe even look in the mirror and say, why am I such a fucking insufferable asshole? Because these people are that.
I hope it's a Ray Fisher thing where they just stop hiring them. I agree with you, Chris. I hope that's what happens here.
There's a really interesting interview, totally off topic, and then I'm going to stop my rants. I know the super chats have piled up, and I'll go quiet for a bit. But there's a Douglas Douglas. Thank you for that, Douglas Murray interview. I don't know if you know who Douglas Murray is. He wrote a book called, is it The Madness of Crowds? Anyways, Douglas Murray, you've seen him. If you go like, oh yeah, I've seen that guy. He's on the latest Dave Rubin podcast. And he said something that I've thought for a while. And he said he's done. It's like, I'm done. The reason this stuff has gotten as far as it has is because we've been so tolerant and polite, because we're tolerant. You get with a big group of people. I'm tolerant. I want to hear other people's views on this. That's cool. Oh, it's cool. I'm going to but I'm tired of people being intolerant of my views. Fuck them. And I think that, you got to see this interview, because he just says, I'm done tolerating it. I'm done being nice. I think we've been nice and tolerant for too long.
Yes.
And this behavior needs to be called out for what it is. And the fact that there's 3 cases where the stuff is really non-specific. It's not like Harvey Weinstein, very specific.
Yes.
And by multiple.
Cosby, very specific. Yes.
Very specific. Multiple people. Those people, Cosby and Weinstein, belong in jail. No, I don't think anybody would argue that.
But Fred Savage
and Frank Langella's had a long career, and so has Bill Murray. And so, I don't know what people.
Yeah, the Langella thing, I don't understand either. I don't know what happened there to where
they were practicing a love scene or something. He put
Yeah.
give me a fucking break. That's what acting is, you fucking idiot.
And he's like in his 90s, ain't he? I mean,
yeah, Jesus. It just, this stuff is just, it's just, I'm done. I'm done tolerating it. I'm done like being nice to people. And now it's like, fuck you is my attitude, fuck you. And I've been as someone who kind of like got away from Twitter for a little bit. I used to post like once a week or every other week, kind of posting like every day now because I feel like I can. And I feel like, hey, if Elon can do it, Elon's inspired me. Elon is my spirit animal now. Elon is my spirit animal because
I think he's a lot of people's spirit animal.
Yeah, he's just sort of inspired me to like come back and use the platform more because I feel I can actually express my opinion. Although I am now a target. I've seen like, it's anybody with pronouns in their bios coming after me.
Yeah.
I just ignore it. I don't feed the trolls. Fuck them. They don't deserve my attention. Your anime. Well, here we are, a bunch of logos talking, a bunch of avatars talking to each other. So I shouldn't mock that too harshly.
No one wants to look at this.
You don't want to look at me right now. I'm sitting on my couch.
I got a face for radio. So.
I'm sitting on my couch, half working through all I got to power through 100 emails while I'm on your show. But like, just like I'm done being nice about it. So I recommend after this show, check out that Douglas Murray interview on the Dave Rubin podcast.
No, you're 100% right. That's what got us here.
What got us here is being tolerant and nice, and
over tolerant.
And then it just allowed people who felt as if they were once bullied to become the bullies. You can't be bullies. How about no bullies? I don't want any bullying. I don't want any racism of any kind. I don't want any of it.
No, you're 100% right. I feel like
anyone.
I feel like during the 90s, the knob got turned to just about level, right? Like
90s great.
Things seem to be about 90% there. Then all of a sudden, they decided a few years back that didn't matter anymore, and they cranked it all the way back to zero again. And they're acting like we gotta rebuild it back up to level and beyond that. And it's like, that's impossible. We've already done this once before. We're not gonna do this song and dance for another 20 fucking years. Sorry, kids. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, no, this can be rooted out with people standing up.
Yes, and I think we're starting to see it. And I think that's part of the final purge, and the final is what we're kind of seeing. And sorry we went on this long rant, but no, that was a beautiful rant, Chris. And
oh, well, thanks.
Tim Scorpion says, have work, so can't be here. And hopefully you get to hear this in the replay then, Tim. Says, but it seems Wanda is praised for not moving on from the loss of her kids. What kids she never had?
That's exactly right. It's her imaginary kids.
This is just it. Yeah, it's this. And this is like, and this is where I cannot argue that Doctor Strange is not technically woke, right? Because it carries on this idea of WandaVision in this, life LARPing thing that people have where it's like, oh, it's not my fucking truth. My truth is I had these kids for 10 minutes, so I have this loss now. It's like, no, you have no idea the struggle. And you put it perfectly in your video this morning before I got here, Andre. And just as I got in here, the struggle was not there, right? She did not go through actually having these children, raising them, going through the sick nights, dealing with kids saying, fuck you, mom, and all the other shit. No, she has this prim, proper, fucking perfect fucking vision of them in her head.
Yeah,
she found in one specific, and I figured that out now. No, she's not going to multiple. She's going to that one specific universe where these kids have happened to be perfectly the way she wants them to be.
Yeah.
And that's the part they're missing. That she's basically got to kill herself for it to get it that way. Yeah.
She's going specifically for the one universe where the kids had a really clingy, slightly narcissistic mother that has raised the kids to be her little playthings, so that they will do these sick little theatric plays and these little performances and sing songs to her and constantly shower her with praise and tell her how much that she loves them. Because if they don't, that's when they'll see the other side of their mother. She's every Karen
in America right now, basically.
Yeah, and this is what our not Black Widow, like our Scarlet Witch, our Wanda wants. She wants those little toy children to shower her with love and praise. That's what she wants. That's her image. That's what she wants there. She doesn't care about them as individuals in the slightest. She only wants what they can do for her ego.
Exactly. And that's, to me, a great, basically, definition of what a lot of these woke fuckers are. It has nothing really to do with doing better for others. It has everything with them. Because you ever listen, it's not about you. It's about me. It's about the greater. No, you're
It's
not
about my feelings.
It's about my feelings. But yeah, no, they don't understand the concept, Tim. Because unfortunately, this could have been actually an interesting storyline that was wasted. Black Wolf Inc. says, Andre, your review of Multiverse of Madness made it easier to enjoy the film. Thank you for your take. 7 out of 10 film. Also, that last video was insightful.
Oh, thank you.
I'm surprised you gave it a 7 out of 10. I mean, I'd still give it about a 6, so I guess that's roughly around the same. But yeah, I got yelled at for somebody thought I said something about Iron Man 3 being better than Doctor Strange 2. I said no. I said Iron Man 3 is my bar for the center. If I said it that way, I didn't mean to. Like, this is not as good as Iron Man 3, but it's definitely in that below Iron Man 3, but above Captain Marvel range. Callum Lyle says, Kamala Khan and Chavez are a lost cause. When women say subvert expectations, it means this and run away. Yeah. The Kamala Khan thing, I have no idea how that's going to work out, but we'll see. Callum Lyle then comes in and says, do you think that Wanda sends a dangerous message about embracing your mental illness? Because I've seen it before. It happened in SJW She-Ra reboot, and those fans are literally insane. I feel like that's part of the problem. I feel like that's why there's such a conflict in the story. What do you think, Andre, Chris, Mike, anybody? I think that's true. I think they had a hard time coming to allowing her to be an evil character like they...
I think this is what happens when you have twisted writers. When you have writers and producers who are activists and who are quite a bit twisted themselves, and then they are supposed to write these characters, write these stories, and they can't write them with the universal appeal because they don't have that in them. And everything they write is basically them revealing to the world how they are, their worldview. These people should not be working as storytellers.
I mean, I don't think they even understand the concept of being a parent. Chris, go ahead. You were saying.
No, absolutely. It's always really like obvious to me when a writer doesn't have children. They're kind of faking what they think having children really is. It's weird when you see it. I mean, I felt that way watching the Disney Plus series. It was sort of this idealized copy of a copy from a 90s, sitcom, right? But that's not how parenting really is, which is why you rarely see it accurately represented on screen. You just don't, right? So, on that note, I think the new trailer for the Parenthood reboot just came out today.
Another one?
Yes, in news no one cares about. So
didn't they try redoing that a few years back?
I mean, I think that mental illness is clearly like rampant. I think a lot of it is social media, a lot of it is narcissism, and a lot of it is a social contagion, meaning mental illness for attention and not actual mental illness. I saw Sydney Watson did a video on that talking about TikTok. I don't mean to use this to my recommends have now turned into other YouTube videos. So please don't leave and look there. I always put stuff in my history. But yeah, she did a video, just her most recent video, talking about how a very rare mental illness now everybody claims to have it, and they're all people on TikTok, and it just looks like a bunch of goth kids going through a phase.
Well, we used to have that. What was the name of it? We used to call this back in the day. I can't remember what it's called. There's an actual term for it.
Emo.
No. Where they would say something in the news, and then all of a sudden you have all these hypochondriacs thinking they have said thing.
Right.
Mass hysteria.
Yeah. That might be it, but that's not the exact word I'm looking for. There's an actual term for when it comes to medical.
Munchausen.
That might.
Yeah, Munchausen. Yeah, that's Yeah,
But
Munchausen
it's
by
like
proxy.
about that's more direct. It's a term that covers like a large swath of people that automatically just, oh God, I gotta have this. So it's like the lemmings thing, right? And that's what TikTok culture is, really. I mean, it's this. Oh, you're gonna do this, I'm gonna do this too. How many kids fuck themselves up because they try to do something stupid, right? Like that's. I can't believe we've regressed to this point. Like that was
Right.
kind of the point of my post. I don't know. I think you saw it, Chris, because I think you liked it too. Where it says like, this is what we were promised in Back to the Future 2 in the future, and this is what we got. Some lazy ass fucking kid in pajamas and fucking Crocs walking around. That's how we've regressed. Like we were supposed to have kids that are like 10 times smarter than we were, but yet they feel like they're 10 times dumber.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
Tom,
Right,
good news, I'm back.
Thank you, because I have to check out for 5 seconds too when you got back. So I'm glad
Okay,
you're here.
I'm on. You want me
But
to
we
take
have
a
to
dash?
congratulate Zontar.
Congratulations, Zontar.
Who's a Canadian trucker, it looks like, eh? Well, at least he is now, because he just graduated his 5-month trucking course.
Buy that man
Congrats,
some
awesome.
diesel.
Congratulations. Buy that man a cup of diesel. That's right.
That's
right. Yeah.
Don't drink it, though, eh? You'll be sorry. Callum Lyle says, could you repeat my first 2 super chats when Tom and Chris arrive? I would like to hear their thoughts, please. Was there 2 that you mentioned before we got here?
I will to go back and check here.
I grabbed them all in order, unless he's referring to the one that.
I say, did you guys get any before Chris and I got here?
No, I saved them all and started them all. We didn't get any super chats.
So I'm assuming we got them then, Callum.
Yeah, no,
I think you might be
the-
referring to this one. MCU Blade will be the BLM movie. Deacon Frost will be alternate right, whatever phobe, and Blade will be complaining about being poor and hates white people.
Oh, Lord.
No, that's not the one. That's not the one.
Oh.
The 2 he said before, for 10 Australian dollars, was: do you think that Wanda sends a dangerous message about embracing your mental illness?
We just got that one.
Yeah, so that's one. And the other one was Kamala Khan and Chavez are a
Yeah,
lost cause.
we got that one.
So yeah, we got them.
Okay, well, thank you for the $5, Callum, but it seems that we had already gotten the ones that you were worried about, so you didn't have to worry about it in the end, and you still got a couple more coming up besides this one. But as far as the MCU Blade thing, I would not be surprised if they did something like this, but I'm just hoping by the time they get to Blade, this phase of wokeness is kind of petered out a bit more, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah, fingers crossed for that.
Because I know that's been a mess since it was even announced. I had a little insight in the early part of that. Then we had SDR Red Wolf, who says, "Hail Chris, Gore, and Midnight's Edge crew. Quick, someone get Chris some coffee. Stat. I think he got some coffee in him. But we're glad, because we love it. Chris
I drank that cup of coffee quick, and I got riled up real quick. And look, all I can say is that I think it's pushing back has to happen. There has to be a pushback, and I think this is a sign the pendulum is swinging back towards balance and tolerance and
standing the one's ground. Chris, I had a great talk with you last week, and I want to
Yeah.
commend you for something that you're doing, that decision you made that maybe not a lot of people realize. I've heard you mention a couple of times in your live streams. You've got enough talent and networking where you could move anywhere and still be in the industry. But you know what?
Yeah.
You're standing your ground at
Yeah.
ground zero. And for that, I respect and applaud you for being one of those guys that's standing their ground and standing up for all of us for quality, because you could leave LA and you're there and you're staying there. So hats off to you, my brother.
Oh, thanks. Well, look, I love this city. It's my adopted city. I moved from Michigan when I was a kid, from Detroit to here, and it's my adopted city, and I love it. I love LA. I have family here and whatnot. So I can't easily just pick up and move out of California. I'd rather stay here and just push back. I've always been kind of a, someone who's something of a misfit. And definitely in mainstream Hollywood, I'm a misfit, but I know I'm not alone, so I'm going to stick it out. So there you go.
No, I think we're starting to see the beginning. It's hard to believe that this started with a black man slapping another black man live on television, but I think that
you
was
can
the
argue where it
sounding.
started. But
Yeah, well, no, I think that was like the salvo that just kind of lit the whole fuse, because you seen it was funny.
Slap heard around the world.
Yeah, because you saw the woke eat themselves alive because they didn't know how to respond to it. Like, you had a black man hitting another black man, and because he said something mean, so that their brains just fucking exploded. The crossed wires couldn't fucking compute that, right? Like, they just couldn't constitute the whole fact of it doesn't matter what the fuck he said. You shouldn't have slapped him. Period. That's the basic idea. Like, you shouldn't hurt or hit anybody else no matter what. Words are not fists. Period. Like, that's just the way it works. Zontar says a fan compiled the best videos and articles from Chris Gore. Well, I should check that out. I want to see that.
Oh, wow.
Check them out at Best Gore. Actually, don't. That was a terrible joke. No!
I see what you did there, Zontar. I see what you did there. But anyway,
I'm mad now.
Best Gore was actually disabled like a year ago. So, yeah. So you can go check it out and you'll just be disappointed.
That was mean.
But someone should totally do that.
Now you should totally do that.
When the Best Gore domain
and
is
especially
available
find
again.
like some of the best bits from back in the day on the shows and stuff from
Sure.
G4. That'd
Sounds
be
good
awesome.
to me.
I'm all for that. Woke Hogan says Doctor Strange's numbers prove that brand loyalty will defeat quality 9 times out of 10. This is true. MCU stands are a bane to society. I don't know about the latter part. I mean, you can say that about a lot of fans, and that's kind of what got us to this point is bad talking fans. I don't like to badmouth any fandoms.
No, exactly. Don't badmouth. Here's the thing. Even the most loyal of fans, at some point, they will have enough. Case in point, the Transformers franchise. Billion-dollar movie after billion-dollar
And they
movie.
have a loyal
But
fan
then,
base.
suddenly, they had enough too.
Yeah, and they have a very, just mention Transformers within the vicinity of a Transformers fan, and you will get the history if you don't know it. Trust me. It's
tell me about
anime.
it.
But I love the passion.
And then did you say the anime version? And what did you think about this season, that episode? I'm like, oh my God.
But have you seen Beast Wars?
No. Oh my God. You know what? You should totally see it.
I love it, though. I love the passion. I do.
They are real fans.
But I think you're right. And I think that the second weekend is going to reflect that. I think Spider-Man No Way Home really helped build up this first weekend of Doctor Strange. And I think even though they were in the midst of the pandemic, I think Shang-Chi and Eternals, they've got that little asterisk they can put next to their box office. But I think that's going to be a haunting factor going forward. The next time they try something like that, Miss Marvels, the Marvels or whatever is coming down the line that's similar to that, where people just ain't going to give a fuck, I think Miss Marvel's going to have a hard time breaking the box office like they did the first time, because they had a lot of momentum building up to that film. And I mean, Ant-Man reflected, I think, more so that people were pissy about Captain Marvel having nothing to do with anything more so than anything. But time will tell, I think, on the Marvel universe in that respect. But yeah, we'll see next weekend, Woke Hogan. We definitely will see. Callum Lyle says the screenwriters are beta groomers and haven't read a comic in their lives and only want to promote their politics and Kevin Feige's white guilt. You're probably true, and if they've read any comics, it's just within the last 5 years, and or they were the ones that wrote it.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's pretty much it. Especially if the character looks just like them, then yeah. Matthew W. says, if she wanted kids, should have broken into a sperm bank, not broken all of reality. Yeah. I mean, she's a fucking witch. She probably could have just conjured them into existence.
I mean, even Amber Heard was able to conjure up a kid. So I'm sure that this woman can do it being a superhero and all.
Yeah.
She was able to conjure up a lot of shit.
If she comes over to my place, I'll conjure something up.
Mikey, you're that beautiful, crazy women are dangerous to you. Exactly. That's the problem. You get in the vicinity.
I know how to treat a lady. I'm not afraid to treat a lady like a lady and make her feel like a lady. That's for sure.
But the problem is you're a sucker for a lady.
Yeah, we kind of got to, Chris, keep mixing Iron Man's credit cards in the drawer. You know what I mean? Because they tend to wander off. You know what I mean?
What kind of hooker takes credit cards?
The kind that want to go shopping. I don't do hookers, but the kind of girls that want to go shopping the next day, you know, babe, since you're going to be busy on the internet with your YouTubing and your taxes, can I go to the mall? Do you want to take me? I don't have time. Here, just take the card.
Sorry, it was just a Wolf of Wall Street joke I had to get in there. Callum Lyle says, please don't throw shade at Avatar and Jurassic Park. They are my only hopes. Well, Callum, I'm with you on Jurassic Park, and nothing personal when we throw shade at things like Avatar. But I mean, let's be real. That movie is looking at But then again, never count James Cameron out. I don't know. I saw the trailer this weekend. I don't know how many people actually got to see it. It hasn't even gotten online yet, has
I saw
it?
it
Yes, it
twice.
is. It's online. It
online?
came
Okay.
earlier today.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was figuring they were going to drop it. What do you guys think? I don't know.
I can go first.
Or go ahead, Andre.
Because I'm just going to go back to the original Avatar. Because when I saw the trailer for it, I was like thinking, this shit looks like a video game. And that was when I saw it on the computer screen. And then I saw it on the big screen, and I was completely blown away. And for this one, again, I saw it on a computer screen, and I had the exact same reaction. This looks like a computer game. If anything, I was even more underwhelmed. Because the intro to Valerian looked better on a computer screen than Avatar did here, in my opinion.
Well, I saw it in 3D. I'm assuming Chris might have too.
But this thing here, who knows how it's going to be in theaters? Maybe it'll blow our minds.
No,
again.
it looks stupid.
Yeah, I
what
saw
did
it
you think, Chris?
twice. It looks like a PowerPoint. It looks like just some presentation. Nothing about the story, things we've seen before, glimpses of things we're about to see. There's a human child, a human feral child that may have been adopted by the Na'vi, right? Where have we seen that before? I mean, even Road Warrior had that feral kid, remember, with the boomerang? I mean, that's what reminded me of, right? So, but there's no taste of what the story is. There's a crisis, something underwater. My feeling is that this next Avatar movie is going to be something of a remake or a rehash of the original that gets us into the world of what this next trilogy is going to be, and it is going to be kind of a rehash of the original. It's like what, a decade or 13 years later or whatever, right? And it will mostly take place underwater. And I think that's all we know so far. But I really think it's just going to be a reintroduction to the world and a setup for this new series of movies, which are coming out, every 2 years it's been announced.
Yeah, they were originally supposed to bounce back and forth with Star Wars.
Yeah, well, Star Wars is a brand that's. I mean, I don't know if you saw the leaks. I don't know if I should talk about it. The Kenobi, there's a leak of what happens at the end.
Get to it, actually, if you want. I don't know what we got in the.
Well, we got to sort of complete the Avatar conversation, but it's like, it looks pretty. I don't know what it is, and I wonder if the public will have an appetite for a film that, like, I mean, a lot of these we've seen where like a sequel comes like way too long after the fact, and you're like, well, why now are they making a sequel to this? I mean, that was pretty much every Terminator sequel after Terminator 2 was like, why are they doing it again?
The diminishing returns on those, though.
Yeah, why are they doing another Terminator again?
And that same was thing with Transformers,
yeah. So we'll see when it comes to Avatar if it can sort of transcend that. But my attitude is like, okay, well, I don't know what the story is, so my assumption is it's going to be pretty thin on that.
Mikey?
Well, I'm kind of a tequila bottle half full kind of guy, and this time around, I'm going to be the minority because, I'm always the minority. Get the joke? Yeah. I'm actually kind of looking forward to seeing this movie.
You're white. It says it on your fucking birth certificate.
I know. No, Caucasian. That's the fancy pants word.
Than white.
Exactly. That's the fancy pants word. I'm actually looking forward to this. I know the frame rate thing is probably going to be an issue, but what am I going to say? I don't know. My whole family likes Avatar, and unlike Alpha, Avatar didn't have the Alpha effect on me. So.
Well, I'm gonna make a bold prediction here, actually, and it's gonna go off of exactly what you two just said. I think the movie will do okay, but I don't think it's gonna blow everybody out of the water like most James Cameron films do. Pun intended here. I saw it in 3D. It still looks like a fucking video game. He's bringing absolutely nothing new to the table. We underestimated him a little bit with the 3D thing, but at that point I don't think a lot of people understood what polarized 3D was. Now you have a situation where this is, well, it was older technology then, but the more refined version of it now has been around for the better part of 20 years. And we saw how well people enjoyed the high frame rate stuff with Gemini Man and Hobbit. They didn't. So there's no gimmick for this movie. Right. It lost its entire fan base. I mean, sure, Callum is a fan, and hopefully for you, Callum, he gets it done and he makes some money, you can make some more and you enjoy it. But I think at this point, this isn't like Terminator. Terminator was a fluke because the first film, people don't realize or forget because they either weren't alive or just haven't really looked, didn't make that much money at the box office. The first movie wasn't a huge smash. It became a huge hit on video and cable later on. That was what built the momentum of it, to the point where by the time Cameron there was like this fever pitch for it. It was like perfectly timed. And the same can be said for Titanic. And the same can even be said for Avatar. And that was what I was saying there is, like, this time, though, I don't think his gimmick is going to fly. I don't think it's going to pay off. And I predict that if it's lucky, it'll do about half of what the box office, the original Avatar, did. Which is nothing to sneeze at. But in this day and age, I don't think that's going to be enough to keep Disney happy. I'll be curious if we get more than two more
We shall
Avatar
see,
films.
because you never want to bet against James
No, you
Cameron,
don't. But
like
in this
history.
case,
But
I don't know.
I agree. In this case, this is a sequel that there is zero demand for. I mean, his previous sequel, as you said, that was Terminator 2. And there, Terminator 1, as you said, it wasn't the biggest of movie. It grew to become a huge cult movie after its release on VHS. And by the time Terminator 2 rolled out, he was a superstar director. Arnold Schwarzenegger was the biggest action star in the world. And The Terminator was a cult movie. Avatar 2 has none of those things going for it. And also, and I think this is a pretty big deal, in terms of special effects, stuff like that, there's been like so much inflation. We have kind of like, I think, reached a limit of where you can go. And is this movie going to push the boundaries so much that people will have to go to see this in theaters again in the same numbers as before? Maybe, but that's a tall order.
And I just want to say, somebody's twisted my words a little bit. I never said Terminator was a flop. I just said it wasn't this huge movie that everybody thought it was. It did 70-some million in
the first
80s.
one. No, that was perfectly okay.
That's really
movie.
good. That's really, really good
yeah.
for a movie back then. But it didn't, like, you're talking about a movie that came out the same year as shit like Gremlins and Beverly Hills Cop and Ghostbusters. You had like 5 or 6 movies in the top 10 that grossed over $100 million. Yeah. So, like, yeah, in a movie full of other big, huge films, it kind of got lost in the mix.
1984 terms, or to put like today terms, Terminator was an A24 movie. It did really well relative to its budget. It got a lot of acclaim, but it wasn't a blockbuster.
And I think a lot of that, I'm not so sure that 70 million is all its original run either. I think that's some added on re-releases. Because if I remember right, I think its original run was more like 43 million. For some reason.
That sounds more accurate.
So, but yeah, no, as far as Jurassic Park goes, I hope it looks like Trevorrow is back on track with this one. I think the diehard JP fans are going to like it. I think the close to diehard but casual fans like me are going to enjoy this one. And I think the general audience will be fine with it. I mean, I'm sure Chris will be able to find plenty of things wrong with it. And I see, like, these kind of movies are ones that I overlook a lot of stupid shit sometimes. But then sometimes they're the ones that have the little stupid shit that nags at me like crazy.
Well, I think what's good about Avatar is that it's been made inside a bubble. You know,
yes.
I mean, it's also like, the James Cameron's not exactly known for having woke messaging, but there are messages. I mean, like Titanic is about, it's a female empowerment story.
He's always been pro-feminist.
Yeah, he's always been, but in the right way. In a way I think that inspires and is not off-putting, right? And look at Sarah Connor, that character, the development of that character from the first Terminator to the second one is amazing. And Titanic, for what it is, right, was a phenomenon at the box office. And so he has that history, and so I just think it's not going to be the kind of way that messaging has been included in a way that, like, if you don't agree with this, you're bad, or if you not vilifying a certain type of person. You know what I mean? I think that it's so I expect, if also the fact that these movies have been like made in kind of a bubble over the course of so many years, because they're basically animated movies. He may as well be making a Pixar film, know, right? So
no, so you're right, exactly.
So I expect it to be. I expect to eat my words in some sense. I mean, I think maybe the vague marketing is a good thing. I think that by the end with Avatar, when they were pushing it, they really kind of just told the whole story. Once they got to the story version of the trailer, it kind of just it ruined everything but the ending. So
no, I'm going to stick by my prediction, and I think if it hadn't been for the fact that maybe Cameron could have figured out a way to get glass-free 3D working before this movie had dropped, maybe he'd have had something. But the high frame rate is going to kill it. Nobody likes that shit.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, speaking of stuff that nobody likes anymore, Michael Miller says, so Strange New World dropped with a massive thud. Yeah, which is funny because I've actually heard some semi-positive-ish reviews about it, which goes along with what I was hearing. And that was the show, when it was originally established by Akiva Goldsman, was meant to be what he thought he was getting involved with at first place. And then Kurtzman came in and fucked it all up. So,
well, and by the way, he did a royal job of effing it up because that show sucks, and I watched it.
Yeah, I've heard very mixed reviews on the show, so
the ones that aren't negative are wrong.
And here's my.
I think I can tell exactly what happened here. I know exactly. What is with the positives. It's like battered wife syndrome or Johnny Depp syndrome, whatever you want to call it. That we've had so much Star Trek that has treated us like utter crap, whereas this one, it didn't suck as bad. I mean, if we squint, there's a good moment here, and there's a good moment there, and there's a good moment there, and the rest of the time it's slapping us down and everything, but still it had like those good moments. And yeah, actually, I'm going to agree with Mike on this one. The good reviews are wrong, because every single one of them, they're filled with hedges that, this is so good compared to everything else. It's still total crap. You still have all of this messaging and stuff, but at least it's not as bad as the other things. Well, just because something doesn't suck, that means that doesn't forgive all the other stuff in it.
Well, okay, so you're talking the starving cracker analogy, and I understand that. My point is that I'm not surprised to a point why we've gotten some of these reviews who see glimpses of things they like, because for those who don't know, the quickest version I can tell this, because we're so far behind, sorry, is that when Akiva Goldsman came on to this program, he thought that Discovery was going to be what Strange New Worlds basically is. He thought it was going to be the story of Pike and how, that crew ran and all that business. So he pushed this show, but then he got pushed out. So I feel like there's still remnants of certain things that he wanted in there, and things that a classic Star Trek fan would want to see in a show that basically was presented as the Enterprise and stuff like that, or the crew that we know and love prior to, kind of thing. So I think that's where things are kind of left over from that. But no, the Star Trek is dead. They have fucked it up so bad. But I hear there might be a glimmer of hope for the third season of Picard. I'll talk to you about that later, Andre. But I wouldn't get my hopes up too high. Let's just say that some of the people behind the scenes have been switched around. And
is season 3 a complete reboot, so we don't completely ignore season 1 and season 2?
I saw all of these
still happen.
I don't know
about that. Or can I go into season 3 as if I've never seen anything before?
Okay, the short version that I can get into, because I wanted to vent a lot of this before we got out in public, because I don't know what you've heard.
Okay, I haven't. All I will say about it is this. If it still follows on from season 1 and season 2, if season 3 is not season 1 version 2.0, completely replacing everything, I don't care. It doesn't matter what they do. I'll never watch season 3, because that means I have to watch season 2 first to get to it. Ain't happening. So it doesn't matter. It's complete waste, whatever they've done.
I think we may have to, because here's the thing. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is because there was some confirmation, or not, let me use that term loosely. There's some evidence to what we've been hearing, at least I've been hearing a little bit, and that is that a lot of the original cast from the first 2 seasons of Picard ain't coming back for 3. And they're going to tie up a lot of those storylines, it sounds like, in season 2, because it sounds like the new guys that are behind season 3, I can't remember the name of the main guy, sounds like they're kind of trying to get things back on course. That's why the original cast is brought back, I guess, is from what I heard. That it has little to do with anything other than that this third season might actually be what we were somewhat hoping for when we first heard of this idea. Don't quote me on that yet. We need to do some more research. I don't want to get anybody's fucking hopes up at all.
You know what my research indicates is that every time they bring back a major character that we like Seven of Nine or Picard, they flush him down the toilet.
Well, let me just say that the person who told me this said that Worf looks like Worf.
That's cool.
Okay, my reaction is, ooh.
Well, and then because as far as I know, they've already filmed this third season, so.
Didn't they film them back to back?
Yeah, they filmed them back to back because of the Amazon deal and COVID. And I hate to say this, guys, but I have this scary fucking feeling we're gonna get some news about Patrick Stewart pretty soon because he looked so fucking tired in this in Doctor Strange. Like I feel like he's doing a lot of this stuff as a quick get it done and over with kind of thing. I hate saying it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, he's such a great actor,
and there was a big push to get these done at the same time, and it felt to me like it was more to do with him and less to do with Amazon.
Yeah, I feel like we may have seen him as Professor X for the final time. He may have died a third time for, and that'll be the last time.
Unfortunately, yeah. So yeah, it took a lot longer than I expected it to. But yeah, Michael, who's always a big proponent of Star Trek, I think you've earned that for all the super chats you sent us over time talking about it, and we've kind of just moved on because Trek has kind of died along, the way. So we haven't really had much to say about it. Infinity Flare says, did address how the alternate Wanda even had kids to begin with? Natural birth, was the father mentioned? Vision even? No.
Nope,
now, Vision's loosely mentioned here and there, but like it's only mentioned. I wouldn't even say mentioned. It's more like I think she gets some random flashbacks to WandaVision shit, and that's the only time I think we see.
The only thing that we can say about the Vision connection is that the alternate Wanda that does have kids, there ain't no Vision in her life, because if there was, she wouldn't be having those kids.
Yeah. So.
And no reference to any kind of father. We don't know who that is. But probably, if Wanda went out for dating in this universe, she'd find this universe equivalent of the father and have those kids, which only makes her stupid for not doing that.
Yeah. Lord Kamina 2 says, anyone bring up that these kids are speedsters? Yeah, I made that little joke, I think, last week. Kind of flew under the radar, but yeah. The Wallman 4 says, all right, going off topic, but what are the prequels reactions to the PR firms or panels? Jesus Christ, what am I reading here? What are the panels reactions to the PR firms' message to major companies to keep their mouths shut on certain court draft decision?
Fucking smart. I almost tweeted, Cinnabon is oddly quiet on the abortion issue. Just to make light of the fact that Cinnabon doesn't need to have an opinion about that, as most companies do not. If you sell Cinnabon, which is a delicious, sweet treat, often found at airports, I think you should just make Cinnabons and sell them to whoever. But companies rolling over and buckling to pressure from groups about where they stand on things, that's Spanish Inquisition bullshit. It's the modern equivalent of the Spanish Inquisition. It's bullshit. It needs to stop. Companies need to push back, say this is what we make. Our job, Kellogg's cereal, is to make Raisin Bran and delicious cereals, which as an adult I am free to eat for dinner. I eat cereal for dinner because I'm an adult and I can make that choice.
And my M&M should still come with the commercials with the girl with the high heel boots on.
Yeah, I want a smoking hot M&M with legs for days that makes me want to get into her delicious chocolate.
Well,
I'm saying that is absolutely the way it should have been. It's stupid that companies have done this. It's insane that this is seeped into entertainment in a way that, like, most average moviegoers don't notice it as much, but they will later. They will as these movies age poorly, because what's going to happen is this woke age of shit entertainment is going to age very poorly. Very poorly. And it's not as if messaging has not always been in Hollywood films. It has, but not to the point where it's the agenda is so front and center and in your face, and it's it's distressing.
Well,
Maybe it's a good quote wake up call for just everybody to say, hey, you know, we have to pay attention to this now. But I don't care what Cinnabon, they shouldn't have a stance. Every person that works for Cinnabon is allowed to have their own views privately outside of the workplace, but make these delicious Cinnabons, serve it to me with additional frosting, and I'll be very happy.
well, and I'm going to make a bit of a bold kind of
Please.
statement here, and hopefully Andre doesn't get too pissy with me, but I don't think he will, hopefully. But like, look,
We shall see.
I said this started with the slap heard around the world, but no, what it really started with was when the woke decided that Disney should get involved for some reason in actual fucking politics, not just on the
Thank
screen.
you. I was waiting.
But
I was
actual
gonna bring
fucking
that up if you
politics.
didn't.
But I'm going to get to a bit more of a rockier point here. So, like, because we brought up the abortion issue,
Right.
and I feel like this whole thing is and this is why I've been saying this is it. This is the final read, kids. We're in the midst of it, because you have an issue where, sure, the topic that was brought up when you have a bunch of people pushing an idea that says this thing says you can't say gay. You know, say gay, say gay. You can see a company getting tricked and bamboozled and pushed into breaking to the point where they will get behind something like that in some way. When you're going to sit there and tell a company that you want them to get behind the potential of killing future customers, do you really think they're going to do that? Let's even take an example, the most grandest of them all, the tobacco company. Look, they know they need younger customers. Why? Because they're killing their older ones. You know, what are they going to do? So they're not going to come out against abortion. Why would they even fucking do that? Why would they're not going to come out for abortion. Why would they kill a customer base? So this is going to be the breaking point for these companies. It's one thing to be able to say, okay, say gay, but it's a whole nother thing to say, wait a minute now, we're talking about basically killing our future customer base. You guys are fucking nuts. Okay, I know that was a bit out there, but hopefully Andre doesn't get pissy for him. But I think that is where these corporations have gotten to the point where, like Cinnabon, they're like, hey, we need future customers. We're not going to get behind something like that.
I just think that these, you know, they really need to look at, there are other organizations that are pressuring companies into taking stands.
Exactly.
You have to resist.
Quit trying to make a company a person, first of all.
Yes, exactly. Like, I mean, this is where Chapek has no balls. You know, literally, he needs the Joker to walk into a meeting and say, "What happened? Your balls drop off?" like seriously, like you just say, "Look, this is what our companies." You need to look at what your core business is. I mean, I've done this with my own business, right? With Film Threat, which is Film Threat is something I started out of freaking high school, right? I'm a teenager. I started Film Threat, and the whole thing was to cover everything. And we cover movies that some might consider to be woke. And we cover movies that some might consider to be on the other end of the spectrum. And we cover it all. Why? They're independent movies. We cover it all. And we have a very diverse staff with diverse opinions. The difference is we all have a sense of humor about ourselves and don't take ourselves too seriously. So I'm proud of the writing group that I've collected for Film Threat, because they're allowed to have their opinions, but not go after anyone within the organization. I'm pretty good about vetting out people who are, you know, just feel like they have an agenda behind everything, right? Like, so I'm just saying that, like, these companies don't need to have opinions on this. They don't need to. It's not look at what your core business is. Kellogg's makes cereal, right?
Right.
Pop-Tarts, okay, also delicious breakfast things. Cinnabon, all these, they should not feel pressure. Disney is an entertainment company mostly geared towards children that has also more adult entertainment, or entertainment that skews towards older parents. I'm not going to say adult entertainment. That's not what I meant. You know what I meant. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you really got to look at what is your core business. And unless you're a political action group, you should not be taking opinions on anything. And this is, I think, what got these companies in trouble is they were buying influence by, you know, donating to both campaigns of both Democrats and Republicans, both sides of the aisle. They're giving money to. Why? They want things to go their way. I mean, you know.
No, that's a great point, though. It'd be like if back in the day they decided all of a sudden to do the Martin Luther King Jr. commemorative Pop-Tart. Like, how low do you think that would have rolled back then? Like, That's why usually when companies do these kind of things, they kind of keep them to the, the commercialized kind of side of things. If Hallmark has a card for it, then it's okay to make an Oreo based on it. Okay, that's where I see where we're at. Like, I don't think you're gonna offend anybody then.
But that Oreo thing is just not. It's not necessary. That's not what their company does.
Exactly, my point. Exactly, yes.
The company is not about affirming.
I expect Easter things, identity. Yes, but not like something about somebody. Yeah, I don't expect like my Pop-Tart to be pro-gay. Like that.
And that is all good and well. But you know what company interests me the most in here? Disney, as you said already. That is a company that already bent the knee over the Florida bill. And and so if there is one company you would expect to actually get involved in this particular case, it should also be Disney, because you have the same kind of activists there. The management under JPEG has already bent the knee, promised that they would do better. How is this not a great occasion for it? And still, complete silence. That makes me real curious. What the hell happened behind the scenes in that case? For all the others, they never spoke out about the Florida bill. Disney had a riot of their own employees to make that happen. And now, poof, quiet. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Well, look, I think they got a clean house. Those videos that leaked are offensive. They're offensive to any parent. That I don't want my entertainment.
I think that's what kicked it all off.
No, that was
those videos leaking was so damaging to the cause of the activists.
It was damaging to the cause of the activists, and I think they don't realize it. They're just going to, cry victimhood, which is the move, right? To always cry victimhood and not take a look at themselves. And this might not be the best way to do this, and maybe we don't need to push the agenda every day, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Why don't we should really be focused on just integrating ourselves as in the normal part of society where it's not a big deal. And for me, it's not ever been a big deal. I don't care. I've had gay friends growing up. My uncle, who I worshipped and was my hero, was decorated. Yeah, he was a decorated Vietnam War veteran, also happened to be gay. Lived in California, inspired me to move out here. And there the point is that I've been around gay people all my life. Don't fucking care. And you know what? They just want to go out and eat meals and not have the agendas being pushed so hard. I saw a funny meme about the agenda. And it was somebody against the wall, and it was a giant tuba over their head with like rainbow stuff. It's to the point now I see anything rainbow and I'm like, fuck that. Because it's too much. It's too much. It's like, what do you want from me? I accept you. Live your life in peace and let me live my own life in peace. Right. And there's been I don't know. I just feel like the agenda is being pushed so hard. It's now turning people the other direction. And I wonder if people on that side realize that they realize that people are getting really turned off to this shit. They see how you're playing the game, and we don't like it. We don't like it. It's not helping the cause. It's hurting your cause.
That is how pendulum swings the other way.
Exactly. It's just like, come on, folks. Like, it used to be. Now the month of June is just going to be, you know what it is. This is where every corporation puts a rainbow thing in their header on Facebook and Twitter, and post things. They've got to. They have to show that they like this group. It's like nobody cares. Nobody cares. We just don't care. Just like let us live our lives. Sell us Cinnabons and Oreos and whatever, and don't push agenda on my Fruit Loops packaging. I don't know if you saw that where they were.
Oh yeah.
The whole thing about pronouns on the Fruit Loops packaging. Yeah, fuck that.
Fuck that. That's why Mecha J doesn't care about I guess Born Spider-Man. In No Way Home, its phase of the MCU has been a complete disappointment. House of Tradies for $5. Hail Midnight Sage, what did the Doctor Strange 2 multiverse have anything to do with the multiverse breakthrough at the end of Far From Home? Well,
nothing. That's what.
Andre, what did you say?
Nothing. That's what.
Exactly nothing. Chris talked about that in his review as well.
Mhm.
For $5, I believe that's British pounds. Well,
That is correct.
That's
Yeah.
fancy pants money, Andre. From Horseradish Power, EFAP spent 5 hours breaking down a third of Strange 2. The film is clearly more bollocks than a castration factory. Will write my own stories. Thanks. That's awesome.
Yeah, so like my summary is that I liked it when watching it, but the more I think about it, the more frustrating it gets.
And CC Karaoke, thank you so much. He became a YouTube member. Thank you very much, CC Karaoke. That may be an upgrade. I'm not quite sure. Let me see here. Let me go back here. Where was that? It's all the way back up from an hour ago. Well, sorry, can't see it, but it was, I believe it was an upgrade. Thank you so much, CC Karaoke.
Thank you, CC. And I have some really cool stuff for members coming this week.
Nice. What are we gonna? Well, okay, let's not tell them. We'll just surprise.
Well, I took some inspiration from Doomcock to create something for absolutely everyone.
Oh, great! Then I know what you're doing. That's a great
Yeah.
idea. Planar aspect for $5. Loki's ending retroactively causes the multiverse to have always existed. The series is a paradox. It's never not existed. It's complicatedly simple.
You are right. That is entirely accurate.
Nikki D for $10. So far, we have female Cap, female Loki, female Thor, female Hawkeye, and female Doctor Strange, and She-Hulk, and female Iron Man. Riri are on the way, but folks still claim there's no agenda. Did I miss any? Did you miss any, Andre?
I'm trying to think. Of the movies, I think that about covers it so far.
Daniel with $5 super chat says, true or false? The only thing pulling normies into this movie is Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange, not the MCU per se. I'm long since checked out.
False.
Yeah. What are all the things that pull people into this?
Well, the MCU first and foremost, that's it. And then when you have the MCU coupled with Cumberbatch Doctor Strange, who is something old and familiar by now, that's going to bring in even more people. But the MCU on its own is going to sell tickets, as proven by the Eternals.
Akunin 1876 with $5. Is that Belgian?
No, it's a Bulgarian. Lev.
Ooh, nice. Bulgarian. That's exotic money. Haven't seen a Marvel movie since Endgame, but based on what I hear, feels like there's no big finale to this phase. No big payoff. It's just content.
Yep. Just more content for D+.
Kind of, yeah.
I mean, I actually would have...
Yeah, carry on.
I just say I would have liked this movie more had it been a D+ special more than anything, like to finish off WandaVision. And
it is season 2 of WandaVision.
Yeah, I mean, as I said last Thursday night, Doctor Strange was barely a hero in his own movie. Dash Attack for $5. Anyone upset that Strange made money has an obligation to find a new MCU. Massive Talent, for instance, is an anti-Marvel movie with the meta lines stated as such.
I think he means stated, probably.
Stated such. All right. Tom, are you back? You want to take the dashboard?
I did. You know what was at my door, Andre?
The
only Fantastic Four I need.
Oh,
is that the documentary?
No, this is the movie.
That's
that's the original.
Yes, it been.
Oh, dude, I was there.
I used to have one of those.
Yeah, you were.
How remastered is that?
Presented in high definition for the first and only time. It's an upscaled 720p.
Wow. I don't
it
have
also
that.
has
Where'd you get it, Tom?
A little place online.
Message me.
I'll see if I can find the...
I can't wait to...
I don't know if I can get it again or not, but I can find it. I'll see if I can find it.
STR Red Wolf for $2 say, Hulk say, smash that like button with 1,360 people watching. Thank you so much. Let's smash that like button.
Yes,
also, it has a first-generation open mat transfer direct from the only 3/4-inch videotape source in existence.
That is...
basically, the person who made this probably knows the director, let's say.
I'm very, very happy to hear that.
That's great.
I think I had that on DVD or maybe
that's how they got a hold of this stuff. Yeah,
I have a bad bootleg.
I'll see if I can get you this.
Because
if not, I can
the
definitely
problem
get
with
you
that
a
movie
version
is
of it,
that the versions so far have been so crap as to be near
Yes, they
unwatchable. If somehow we got the director's personal copy. Oh my God, ka-ching.
Yeah,
So,
that was great.
Drive-by
I mean-
command. Oh, sorry.
No, I
Drive-by-
was just gonna say, like, that's like the Star Wars Christmas special. Go get bent. I mean, this is real deal right here.
Yeah. Drive-by commenter for $5. What really applies to the MCU is that quote from the general in American Gangster: "Quitting while you're ahead is not the same as quitting."
Mm-hmm.
That's
This
very
is true.
well said.
This is actually really true.
I haven't seen that movie in a while. I gotta watch that.
Dual for $10. I get the impression that the end of this plot line of searching for her children will end with her eliminating the kids, and it'll be considered to be a form of
Ooh.
abortion. Whoa!
And I thought I was
Very
worried about
late
getting
start.
fired.
Oh no! That's all that was
Yikes.
going.
Alf, no, AJF Milan. See, I'm so traumatized everywhere I see Alf. AJF Milan for $5. Critical character flow flaw. Wanda's vision grieve replaced for wanting to be someone's kid's mom. She needed a season 2 WandaVision as a fugitive. That's huh?
No, I think
Well,
she's done and over with. I think she kind of aborted
freaking hope
herself.
so.
Yeah, she's gone. Chris Gore on point as usual. $5 from Daniel. Remember when Disney policy was to put its classic movies in the vault and rarely release? Now it's Old Country Buffet.
Oh, I miss Old Country Buffet.
I'm hungry now. Haven't
Me
eaten all day.
too.
Rambam 3000 for 5. British pound sterling. So Tom, given the comic book collapse, how long before we reach the singularity?
Tuesday.
At this
For
point, yeah.
Remember, stay angry for $5. Whatever happened to Doctor Strange versus Mordo? This was set up at the end of the first Doctor Strange movie. It seems this storyline was completely dropped. I think you guys talked about that a half hour ago.
Yeah, and you're right. You just answered your own question. That storyline was completely dropped.
Dash Attack for $10. Japanese game giant Square Enix just sold a bunch of their Western studios and franchises like Tomb Raider and Deus Ex. Chances Disney sells some R-rated Fox IPs to pay their new taxes? No, those things have nothing to do with each other.
We should be so lucky.
Yeah, we
like,
should be
Disney
so
don't have
lucky.
to, yeah.
God, that would be great. Unfortunately,
Disney don't have to sell any IP.
how much did they pay for that? Wasn't Fox for 45 or 60? What was it, billion or?
No, they
I
paid
think it was
70
80
billion. Or 80, yeah. It was.
Oh,
quite a
that's
bit.
right. It was 80 billion. That's right.
Yeah.
So no, they're not going to have 80.
Originally, though, I think the original deal was for more like in that $40-50 million range, and then Comcast got involved, and that's when it ballooned at that point. I think they originally were going to get it for around 60, something like that. But
House Atreides, and by the way, thank you everybody for being patient. We're about an hour and 5 minutes behind the super chats, but we're making progress fast. House Atreides, Jane Foster rebuilds Molinar with J.B. Weld. Huh?
oh, JB Weld done fix it.
Stephanie
Gorilla grew.
Janicek for $4.99. I say Lasseter was
Me
set
too.
up.
Me too. Totally.
Yeah, Tom one night had a really good convo. I think it was on Midnight Edge After Dark where you really got into that in depth. That was a great talk. For $5 from Mr. Melange, they went after Nolan Bushnell, the former CEO of Atari, because he had fun time relations with too many women back in the 70s. I'm gonna call that fun time relations. You like my new word?
Can I comment on the
What,
Lasseter thing
really?
really quick?
In the
Yeah, go
70s?
ahead.
Sorry
Please
to
do, Chris.
interrupt the super chats, but someone brought it up. Some in those chats as I say Lasseter was set up. I agree, because unless a crime is committed, in the case of Fred Savage, Frank Langella, Bill Murray, and let's go back to John Lasseter, what crime was committed by those people? No one can identify it. And if it's not a crime, what that is a human resources issue, which is a conversation about conduct. And if someone feels uncomfortable, that person is really accountable for their own feelings, right? And maybe, look, Bill Murray, could he be maybe more sensitive? Who knows? We don't even know what the joke is. But if they're not telling us, it's probably because he didn't say the N-word, which, that crosses a line for most people. That crosses a line, right? But if he didn't, short of that, if it was an inappropriate joke, why is that even to be made public? I think there's an agenda behind this. And with Lasseter, I'll tell you what the agenda is. I would say normally is money. It has to do with Lasseter's making too much money. Could we do Pixar without Lasseter? Yes. He's got plenty of underlings and people who could make Pixar movies without John Lasseter. It still is not going to be John Lasseter, but could they make product and not have a giant payouts to John Lasseter. So it's a way of taking someone out without actually, putting a bullet in the back of their head. It's, you take them out, in the court of public opinion, and the vagueness. I don't trust anything that's vague anymore. If you can't directly tell me a crime was committed, such as in the case of Cosby and or Weinstein, crimes were committed. Okay. The law was broken and lives were destroyed. In the case of everything that I just mentioned, it's bullshit. I call bullshit. And even with Ray Fisher, I'm sorry, Ray Fisher never once articulated exactly what was done, except that his feelings were hurt. And I'm sorry. I got some book recommendations for you. And one of them is Fuck Your Feelings. It's a great book. And it's about sort of transcending, because this is the way I distinguish a person who's an adult and a person who's a child, are who's in control of your emotions. If you can't control your emotions, that's a child. Children can't control their emotions. If you're an adult, you are in control of your emotions. You don't allow your emotions to control your actions, right? So that's my thought on that. I just wanted to comment on that person's super chat, and they got more than their $5 worth, if you ask me, with that rant. I kid. Appreciate the support.
No, they want to make it illegal to be an asshole. That's basically what it is.
It's not illegal to be an asshole.
Unfortunately, kids, it's not.
Unfortunately, in life, if you've ever done anything and you've ever worked a job outside of, say, sitting behind a computer, I've worked a lot of shitty jobs. Sometimes there's a point where you got to be an asshole. Sometimes you've got a team of people at a job site that are fucking off, and you need to raise your voice and yell, and you need to kind of, let's go, people. Come on, we got to accomplish this. And that's a lot of what movie making, television producing, all that is. Someone needs to be an asshole to get shit done. It's just the way it is. Now, I think there are better ways of being an asshole, that, you don't need to destroy people or whatever. There's ways of being an asshole where you're like, okay, we kind of needed that wake up. We got to get our shit together. We're goofing off too much, whatever it is. But anyone that's worked a real job knows that sometimes you need an asshole for good. There are assholes for good.
And the Ray Fisher incident is actually a great example of it, because the most we got out of that, and I'll keep this quick because I know we got to keep going here.
Yeah.
But basically, the most we got out of it is basically that he didn't want to go out and say the line that he was told to say, which is literally his fucking job.
Right.
And you have Joss Whedon saying, "Look, we've got X amount of people out there. I will fucking end you if you don't go out there and just fucking say the goddamn line right now." So I'm not saying that Joss probably didn't say those exact words, is what, basically what fucking he was accused of. But at the same time, you look at a situation where in the heat of the moment where you got millions of dollars on the line, dozens of people waiting under hot lights and holding up this and doing that, and have been spending the last few hours getting ready for you to just come out and go fucking say booyah. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do.
Or you could argue to them and say, look, you basically shoot it from several angles. You have him like raise a fist, say the line. You shoot it from behind, and you loop someone else with his voice saying the line. I think it's really unprofessional of Ray to not just it's a line. This is what you're paid to do. You're paid.
That's my point. As unprofessional as Joss may have acted in that situation, I understand.
Josh was probably an asshole, and Ray Fisher was unprofessional.
Exactly.
And that is kind of what it feels like to me. So there you go.
And
speaking of being an asshole, I'm going to keep going with these because
we have quite a lot of them.
We're now at an hour and 11 minutes in Super Chat. David Amaro, who an hour and 11 minutes ago sent us $5 at the end of WandaVision when Wanda used magic roses would fall from her hands. Why didn't that happen now, Andre?
Yeah.
Well, who knows? I can't really say.
Continuity.
They forgot.
The Mega Wing Zero for $5. Chris, start getting Omnibus of Comic. I got all Stan Lee and Jack Kirby run, and the John Byrne run, and Hickman's run of Fantastic Four, and the Conan Omnibuses.
Nice.
Oh, that's
That is
great. Yes, I know about those. I do have a bunch of collections. They used to do those hardcover Marvel, where they just do like issues 1 through 10, issues 10 through 20. Like I've got a bunch of those, 11. So I've got a bunch of those, and so
and those Savage Sword omnibuses, they're really, really good as well. Like they can capture Everything that they have the rights to are in there, so that's really really cool. And also, I have to commend you for your icon there. That's really fitting, given what Tom just said about the movie you just got.
And because Chris has to leave in a few minutes, I'm gonna skip around and get all the super chats that have Chris's names in it. And one of those is for $5 from the Mega Wing Zero. Chris, start. Oh, wait, okay, we just did that one. Hold on, I already did that one. Sorry. I'm oops.
No worries,
I'm
man.
getting lost here. I'm gonna ask you this question, Chris. It doesn't have your name on it, but I think it might be interesting. Do you think the Bruce Campbell's post-credit cameo was Raimi passing a message to everyone about working on that film because they screwed him again?
I think there's a little. I mean, it's a double entendre, right? Like it could be taken two ways. I think first of all, it was funny. It was one of the funnier ones. It was like it reminded me of the one with Captain America at the end of I forget which Spider-Man movie, where he's like, "So you're in detention." Like that was great. That was awesome use of Captain America for a cameo. But the Bruce Campbell one was great, and maybe it was sort of like subtly him just saying, fuck this Hollywood. I mean, the problem is with Raimi, and this isn't a bad thing, is he is a super nice guy. He is not known as like a Michael Bay or a James Cameron, known to outbursts or, crazy onset shenanigans in the interest of getting the movie done. Sam Raimi's nice. He's the guy that's like a spoonful of sugar guy instead of screaming at people. So I think that, he's sometimes been taken advantage of by studios that want what they want, and Raimi's willing to do it. He did talk about how difficult it was to reshoot 85% of the movie, which is it's really surprising. But yeah, I do think it is something that could be taken that way for sure. So thanks, Mr. Tickle Trunk.
And we've got another one with your name on it, which is from Tickle Trunk for $2. Chris Gore, we are here for the rants. Chris, rants.
Well,
rants,
yeah, I don't
Chris,
really.
Rants.
Yeah, I don't. Well, thanks. I appreciate that I have the ability to do that. On this channel, I appreciate we get into those discussions. I don't do that as much on my own Film Threat channel. We talk a lot about weird indie movies that are obscure, and we've got some really good ones this week. So I hope you tune into the Film Threat live streams. But yeah, thank you.
And for $9.99, Kareen, not Karen. Chris, you guys are praising Elon Musk, a man that financed Amber Heard, who intentionally tried to destroy Johnny Depp. Elon is complicit. Sorry, not a good person in my book. Well, no one's perfect. It's my first reaction.
Yeah, I would say, look, the good that Elon has done is, I think, kind of outweighs that. And who knows how he was involved with Amber Heard? Didn't he just date her for a brief period? And so what I'm saying is he might not have known a lot about her. It's just like, oh, she's a very attractive actress. She's single. Let's
except she wasn't at the time.
Yeah. So, well, who knows what their arrangement is? There are people say on the West Coast that have interesting and alternative arrangements for their committed relationships, and that's all I'll say about that. So, and the people like Johnny Depp, Amber Heard, Elon Musk, they move about in rarefied air that we don't have, and I think sort of gladly for myself, because that doesn't interest me. They deal with life at a different level. So I don't blame him for being involved with Amber. Who knows? He's not currently involved, and probably happy to not be involved, knowing what's come out. So
he conveniently is not going on the stand on her behalf.
Exactly. As I saw tattooed on a friend of mine once, Pobity's Nerfect.
And Fletcher Williams for $1.99 compliments you, Chris Rants. Chris Rants. I'm telling you, man. I'm gonna put a little video together with Tom. I'm gonna something with your picture on it, where you're like your head blows off, and then the world looks all sunny
for shits and giggles.
Yeah, something amazing, and we'll tell people like, yeah, you can blow Chris's top off and stuff, because you have such great experience that I think all of us can relate to you, either because we grew up with you or watched you, and then now we watching you comment on this stuff that means so much to us. Let's see what else we got. Any other ones that got your name on? Chris, how much more time do you have left? Or you got to go now?
A few more minutes. I got a bull time.
Well, let's do this then. Let's take a quick minute and promote what you're working on, some of the videos and the movies, and let's promote your channel, everybody. Chris, tell us about your channel.
My channel is Film Threat. We do live streams on Wednesdays and Fridays, which you're welcome to watch in replay, because we do leave them up on the channel. But we're focused on, we talk if you listen to me now, that's what my channel is. But more of that. I probably talk about politics a little less on the channel, more entertainment stuff. But in addition, we interview independent filmmakers, and we've got this Friday, we've got some amazing indie filmmakers coming up. The director of a movie called Sharkbait, Mother Schmuckers is another film. We're going to have the filmmakers from that. And Christina Ricci has a movie opening on digital this Friday called Monstrous. And I'm talking to the director of Monstrous. So we bring these indie filmmakers on, and what's cool is you can talk to them. So it's not just me interviewing the filmmaker. We go to questions from the chat. So look, this is what I'm trying to start. I'm trying to start and look, these are small indie movies, but they're released in theaters. Monstrous is coming to theaters. Sharkbait is in theaters. These movies come into theaters in limited release. They're available on video on demand also. And this is your opportunity to watch the show and ask filmmakers questions. How did they get to where they are? How did they get, Christina Ricci to be in this guy's movie? I'm going to find that out on Friday. So, just come to the channel and check it out. It's Film Threat, and our focus is indie film. And then we also talk about what's opening in theaters. And I think what's opening in theaters Friday, it's slim pickings. It's Firestarter, the remake of the Stephen. Yeah, exactly. So I didn't even know if you guys knew that Firestarter was coming out.
Oh yeah, I've seen the preview. I've been watching the previews in my local movie theater when I've been going to the movies. I've seen them for about 2 or 3 months now.
It looks very average at best,
Yeah.
but I'll go see it and we'll talk about it this week. So, and we do a late night show on Wednesday called Hollywood on the Rocks, and we're going to be talking about a movie that opens this week called Pleasure. So look that up. Look that up. It's about the adult film industry in Los Angeles, and it looks freaking weird. So we're going to be talking about that film on Wednesday. So yeah, it's not, we talk about geek stuff, but also indie stuff, and I'm ranting. Just go to Film Threat and follow Film Threat and everything. And I'm that Chris Gore and everything. I occasionally tweet. So there you go. Great. Well, thank you. It's just so great to be a part of Midnight's Edge, and I really enjoyed talking to Andre and Tom and you, Mike. Just really great group of people here, and so I appreciate being included. So thank you again for having me.
Thanks you, brother.
Kind words, and we love having you here. And of course, the link to your channel is in the description, as always.
I appreciate it, Andre. Hey, thanks everybody. I'll be back. I'll see you next Monday, if not sooner.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
Take care. Thanks again.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye.
And continuing on with the super chats.
Yes.
The best example of human versus woke, Blazing Saddles.
Or humor versus woke, yeah.
For humor versus woke for $1.99.
I'm amazed that movie hasn't been censored yet.
Yeah, right. Another
of
one.
Course,
go ahead.
Yeah, I'll also raise you A Life of Brian.
Yes.
There's even a transitioning joke in there.
Here's another one. The Three Amigos.
Yes. Oh, there's some classics in there.
And then for $2, we have RevCore. Look at the TNG bloopers, and humor equals well run.
Yeah.
Not sure what that means.
No, because on the Blu-ray and DVD sets of Star Trek Next Generation, you had some bloopers. There were some good ones. And I don't know what kind of bloopers there are on the current days of Star Trek, if they even release any, but whether they do or not, I assure you they're not nearly as fun.
Okay. And we've got Mr. Tickle Truck for $10 Canadian. Wanda in Doctor Strange 2 is the tip top of misogyny. Now, how do you write women so well? I take a man and I remove reason and accountability. Jack Nicholson playing a misogynist in As Good as It Gets.
Yeah, that was a line for the ages. Also a movie that couldn't be released to date for just that one line. But in the case of Wanda here, it's kind of on the money.
Exactly. We got Luca Rocks for $5. In Wanda's defense, she lost her bro, then Lagos, killed Vision, watched Thanos kill him, the blip, the Agatha thing. She has trauma, is all I'm saying. LOL.
Yeah, and I raised that with everyone else has trauma too. And hers is no worse than anyone else's.
Yeah, my Bambino got bit by a copperhead.
Exactly.
This is this for $5.
Your Bambino is a Chihuahua, and for a Chihuahua to be bit by a copperhead, that's a pretty serious deal.
Oh yeah, he came within. They told me that if I hadn't gotten him to the vet that day or it was 3 in the morning, if it had been 1 hour or 2 more hours, he wouldn't have made it to the morning.
Yeah.
This for $5. Bill Murray punched Chevy Chase because Punch made fun of Bill's family, and yet no one is bringing that up.
Well, I assure you they would have if Chevy Chase hadn't been as white as him.
Yep. Martin Steinpat says EFAP has been for €5.
Yeah, that's €5.
EFAP has been doing a scene by scene review of Doctor Strange, 5 hours of streaming, and they just finished Act 1. Yeah, someone else super chatted that earlier.
I mean, that's interesting, right? That you actually can spend so much more time picking apart everything wrong with the movie than it takes you to watch the thing.
Right. That's how I felt with Star Trek Strange New Worlds.
A lot of this stuff anymore.
I found myself dissecting Strange New Worlds second by second, and I watched it twice. And then I said, you know what? I said, I have to watch it 3 or 4 more times in order. And then I'm like, why am I dissecting it? I mean, these people don't care enough to put something good together. Why am I going to take this time to pull it apart? Coach Sarah Raven for $2 says, full offense, F their feelings. Tom, are you back?
Yes, I am back.
Okay, you want to run the dashboard, or do you want me to keep going?
I can do that as long as have you been keeping up with the star? Hopefully you've been keeping
up.
Oh
yeah.
Okay. Dex Luthor is next. Did we get that last one?
We did get the last one, yeah.
Yeah, do this one on the screen.
Okay. Dex Luthor says the Doctor did the whole perfect family thing on Voyager because that's what he thought families were. He was called out on it. I'm trying to think if I've seen that one.
Yeah, but I know exactly what it is, and yeah, that is Star Trek back when it actually did the human condition.
Yeah,
and this is something that is obviously the case with these Marvel writers, the people who are behind this the visions of her family. It's obviously written by people that don't have families, people who are too young, too inexperienced, don't have the life experience to be able to write the kind of movies that assume you have some kind of life experience. I think that's a big deal of it. I mean, not only do you have writers that are lost in a worldview which separates them from everyone else, they don't have the lived experiences to even know what a family means.
Yeah.
Maybe from the kid's point of view,
right,
but not from the point of view of the parent.
Yeah. Corsair Raven says True Dex and the crew had to help him out of it. There you go. And then we have a Revcore who says a human kid on Pandora. How does he breathe? I don't know. He's adapted. /11111 says, with all the delay we get in the MCU productions, by the time we'll get to Blade, Marshall Ali will have retired from. Well, he'll be as old as Wesley Snipes. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. That's another year or two off, probably at least. Snellworld says the cameos were wasted, especially Mr. Fantastic and Black Bolt. Still confused why Peggy Carter couldn't catch the shield.
Oh, it was just simply thrown with so much force that if she had tried to catch it, she would have lost her hands.
Better a hand than a body.
Well, okay. She would have lost her hands and the body. I mean, here's like the thing. This is one thing that I do not mind, because this is something that we've seen several times in the comics. That this even happened in, like, where was it? It was like some Hulk comic or something like that, where basically it's established that Captain America will totally be hurt by his own shield if you throw it at him with sufficient force that he can't stop it, because that shield is stronger than he is. And then the rest is simply a matter of physics. That was the case here. It was hurled at her at such speed that she can't stop it.
I just realized I forgot the member chats, unless you guys capture those. Did you guys grab those when I was away for 5 minutes?
No, I don't think so. So go ahead. Why don't you
let me do these real quick.
Please.
Let me do these real quick. Guys, members chats, apologize that I missed these, but we've got Black Wolf Inc., who's been a member for 5 months at the Viking level. It is quite obviously clear that firing James Gunn so fast has legitimately handicapped the MCU, and sadly it deserves that Endgame did its job too well, and killing off Iron Man really hurt the franchise. Mm. Mr. Tickle Truck also threw in a member chat in addition to all of his other ones. He says, I think reviews aren't that good. Metacritic had 61%, Rotten Tomatoes 81. Their system revamped for Captain Marvel. Maybe use Metacritic instead. Oh, I'm not sure which of those systems works, guys. I don't know. Tom.
Well, Metacritic is that's the one that's probably the more accurate, I think, from what of my recollection.
The cinema score is the one that's going to be the most accurate because that's actual exit polling.
Yeah, that's the exit one. Sorry, that's what I meant. Sorry.
Yeah.
I got them twisted.
Duck Nation's been a member for 11 months at the Midnighter level. Didn't send in a comment, but threw in a member chat. Thank you. We also have Ruben Christopher Haynes, who's been a member for 7 months at the Viking level. Andre, Tom, Mike, thank you for your content and support. Chris, ironically, I've been following your excellent film analysis for decades. I am so done with Marvel. So sad. I will just start writing myself. Good job, Ruben. Do it. And Eldritch Lord Haster, a member for 7 months at the Edgelord level, says, just like Bahad Bahibi getting a record deal for bad behavior on Dr. Phil. Cash me outside, girl. I'm not sure what that refers to, but okay. And
that's the Cash Me Outside girl. She's got her own OnlyFans now, I think.
Oh, Tom, that's our next move. Remember, Midnight's Edge OnlyFans featuring Tom Connors Jr.
Mexican
Just kidding, Andre.
Iron Man Mike in the rabbit chicken spread.
No, maybe I should give me a rabbit chicken.
Yeah, now we're talking here
for Halloween. Member chat from Big Daddy MRI has been a member for a year at the Viking level. Great stream, guys. Great panel. Your channel continues to grow and is among the best. Thanks for everything you do. Hail to the chat and outstanding wrenches. Thanks so much. Be safe. Funny you say that, Big Daddy. If people could not only hit the like button, but if you could share this stream when you watch it, put it on your Twitter, put it anywhere you can, Facebook or whatever. I, as a fan of this channel, now being on the team, just think that we should be at 500,000 already. So anything you can do as fans of the channel to help Andre and Tom would be much appreciated. And finally, the last member chat that we had is from Hiller Smaller, who's been a member for 14 months at the Edgelord level. About Wanda, she only dipped into the black hole at the end credit scene. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. gave the precedent of corruption of the reader of the book.
Mm-hmm.
Back to you, Tom.
I'm glad they didn't really use that as an out. Like, I mean, it feels like the ending we got was the biggest compromise ever, but at the same time, it could have been worse. It could have been, one of those Star Trek level bad endings where, oh, it's okay. She didn't mean to kill all those people. She was just under the influence.
Right.
And then Daryl the Derelict says, Avatar 2, The Search for More Money.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
Avatar the Lunchbox. Avatar the Flamethrower. Kids love this one. House of Trades says, I heard Amazon talks with MGM for the next Stargate series has used the term for a new generation. If Brad Wright is not involved, Stargate is doomed. Is that who? I thought who? No. They were working on something for Stargate before the acquisition. But look, guys, I heard they were just kind of waiting around to see what happened. I know a lot of people took that as a bad thing, and I said, that's not a bad thing. That just means that they've got something already so that when Amazon goes, so what do we got? They are ready to go, hey, we got this for Stargate, and Stargate's something they will try to mine. I actually got a video that's going to kind of touch on some of this stuff coming up, sort of. But I don't know if Andre has any comments on this. But yeah, I think they're going to... Amazon, you're going to definitely see something Stargate. Anything Amazon owns that's an IP now from MGM, they will try to do something with.
Absolutely. So yeah, we'll be getting loads of reboots like that.
As far as the For a New Generation, yeah, hopefully
that's
not.
Trouble. That's disturbing language right there. Red alert.
So yeah, I kind of worry, but we'll see. But it's going to be an interesting road ahead because a lot of the IPs they just bought, either they won't have for very long or they have to work something out with the creators. Omar Albegwe says, Hela from Ragnarok versus Wanda from the Multiverse. Which is the better female villain? Hela.
Oh, Hela for sure. Yeah.
Hela, yeah.
Yeah.
Mike?
I'm going to go... Yeah, we got to go Hela. She's just nasty. She's what we would call a meanie face.
Well, she kind of has a reason for her revenge. Like hers is more justified.
I mean, yeah, she's twisted, and she's somewhat justified, whereas Wanda is just insane, and evil and stupid.
Yeah, and it's not like Wanda couldn't have had kids, right? Like it's just like
That's the stupid part.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest flaw. I think Chris was kind of bringing that part up too earlier. DeWall says or maybe it was Andre. DeWall says I burst out laughing during the Avatar movie. The whole movie was about bestiality and sticking sex organs in everything. I couldn't stop laughing because nobody else in the theater got it. Well, you're not totally wrong. It is some, I don't know. It feels like James had some weird fucking fetish he was working out with that movie. I don't know. Revcore says, till Kurtzman is gone, I don't trust a frickin' thing. He needs to go before I want Trek ever again. The only thing I saw of season 2 was the Queen. Yeah, but again, I hedged everything I said
Healthy
earlier.
advice right there.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to get anybody's hopes up whatsoever. But I kind of predicted some of the Strange New World things was all I was saying, is I can see where certain fans could, another thing I've heard about Strange New Worlds, Andre, which is funny, is some of these people have not seen Discovery or Picard. They're coming into this because they're TOS fans.
That is absolutely true.
I've heard a couple people say that now. Go ahead,
I know
Mike.
several people that are like that.
So this is their first time seeing some of this shit. So they're just like,
Like, gee, it kind of looks kind of updated, and they here's some of the stuff I've heard, and they even used kind of some of the music that we know from before, and it's, I don't know, I'm really liking the graphics. Oh, gee. Shoot me!
Yeah, this is something that obviously tapped into a few people who didn't really go beyond TOS and are not aware of all the shenanigans. Flaccid Phoenix says, why did Wong let the girl stab the Darkhold and die? He knew there was a temple still out there engraved with spells still. Wong felt like a half of an afterthought in most of this movie. I don't know about you guys. At least that's kind of my perspective.
Shit writers, that's why. I mean, you're looking for reasoning where there is none.
I mean, I was kind of tired with him early on in the movie because asking the most important question, which I've never asked of Andre and Tom, but might as well ask it now. Tom, do you speak Spanish?
No hablo español.
How come you don't speak Spanish? Gee, Andre, Tom doesn't speak Spanish. I do. You do. God, that scene was so stupid in that movie when they said that. I was almost died.
That was a dumb bit, yes.
I sunk in my seat. I was the only Mexican in the whole theater, and I just sunk in my seat. God, I hope no one saw me.
See, I saw America Chavez a little bit differently than Andre did in his initial review. And I seen her more along the same lines as Script Doctor did. A, part naive, B, part bullshitter con woman. So I seen it a little bit differently. But I'm not going to sit there and go, well, if you think that's woke, then you're stupid. No, because I see plenty of that in there too, right? Like, I can't deny it's there. And that line right there is a great example of it. But I still think that maybe the whole, like, pizza ball scene, I think that was just more her being a little con. And just more or less not understanding or just walking, like Script said, walking off and not paying for shit normally. But anyway, that says more about what Disney says, I guess, than anything. And they're kind of convoluted in their own messaging there. And Andre's just like, move along.
Yeah, pretty much.
Daryl the Derelict says it should have been called Doctor Strange versus Psycho Mom Wannabe Across the Multiverse. Or Soccer Mom. Psycho Soccer Mom. Yeah. What the fuck? Maybe 2 good scenes and surprised there wasn't a gay Strange.
Well, there's still a third movie.
I mean, I'm curious. I don't know what you know, Andre, about what was possibly removed, but give us a bit of a preview, at least for my question here. Anyway, I'll direct it. Was there some woke stuff in this that may have been removed?
I'm still compiling that video, but I don't think so. I don't think it was the wokeness was really that big an issue at all. But I still have to finish some research, some double checking. But so far, it doesn't appear that the wokeness was a huge issue.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't heard anything, but I don't have
because it wasn't that woke to begin with.
Yeah. All right. Well, that answers that part. Yeah, I mean, partially I'm kind of surprised, but at the same time, I mean, I feel like the movie was already overbloated. Joel Rise says, with €5, YouTube and video games will be my main source of entertainment for the foreseeable future. Apart from a Dune here, a Sonic there, I'm done with Hollywood.
I don't blame you.
I don't blame you, yeah. But we'll see how things go in the next couple of years. I think some of these studios are starting to wake up a little bit. Joe Pat 87 says, and to think there are Reimagine Tomorrow branded videos on YouTube targeted at kids. Look up on the Disney Channel's YouTube channel.
Grab them while they're young.
Exactly, just like I said earlier with the tobacco company.
Yeah.
They're not going to get behind that. Ajax the Greatest says, getting here late, but I would say Wanda's turn is abrupt whether you've seen the show or not. It's just bizarre. And the writers and it's the writer of Loki. What do they sit and talk about at Marvel Studio offices? Well, I don't know what Andres have been told, but I have gotten a little bit of an idea of how it runs over there from, I believe this guy was in, I don't want to say the exact department, but let's say I think he worked somewhere between visuals and visual effects, right? Like between like storyboarding and visual effects. From what I was kind of told, basically Kevin Feige runs everything like, he keeps everything very close to the chest, and most people don't know what the fuck's going on until he says what's being done. Like they just kind of get told what to do. Like they get that week's workload and this is it. They don't really always know the context. So very few people within his inner circle know exactly where stories are going, and I would assume that's some of the story groups they have there, and other producers and writers and people who are a little higher up, Victoria Alonso, for instance, and a few other people. But she might be one of the people who's kind of getting in his head, and that's what I'm wondering about. Andre, have you heard anything else as far as how this works? But that's kind of how I've heard it works.
Alonso is much more important and dominant behind the scenes than any of us would like to believe.
Right. That's kind of what I've heard too.
This is also something that actually I can give a spoiler for the what happened with the reshoots and stuff like that. It was Alonso.
Mm. Yeah, she's one I've heard is part of the problem. But other than that, yeah, like basically the effects guys, they get given sequences and they just do them. They don't always know the context. Same thing with the action guys. They get told this is what you're supposed to set up, and they set it up and they do it. And it's run a lot like a television show. Because with basically Kevin Feige is a showrunner from what I've heard otherwise. So he's kind of the guy who is the puppet master in the end. But again, I'm not so sure he doesn't have a little Victoria Alonso on his shoulder whispering into his ear constantly. So, yeah, that might be part of the problem. I think we'll be waiting with anticipation for that video, Andre.
Yeah.
Snellworld says, I'm tired of seeing Wong as Sorcerer Supreme. He was a librarian and had been long before Doctor Strange, so the time skip explanation doesn't make sense.
Battlefield promotion,
exactly. I mean, temperamental wise, Wong makes a better Sorcerer Supreme, but obviously Doctor Strange is much more advanced than he is as far as what he's able to do.
Because you wouldn't think so, considering how much longer he's actually been a sorcerer, whereas Strange is pretty new to the whole thing. Like, he's picked up a lot of information, though, but...
Well, that's the thing. Strange is natural to it. That's the whole point, I think, is... But no, I mean, unfortunately, the Battlefield promotion thing I didn't have a problem with, but the way it was presented and how they clearly did this so, they could tear him down and pull him down a peg, really... I can understand how that can rub people the wrong way. Especially fans of Doctor Strange. Who I'm a casual fan, so I don't like it. But Daryl the Derelict has now become a member. Thank you for that, Daryl. We appreciate the support. Vincenzo Santinello is here and says, imagine still watching the MCU after Endgame. Yikes. Only exception is reviewing the films to warn others. Yeah, Vincenzo, I've not seen Eternals or Shang-Chi yet. I can recommend No Way Home, but that's one of the few post-Endgame films I really can recommend. What about you guys? I mean, I'm trying to think of the other ones. The order of them is kind of floppy in my head right now, but...
I hated the Eternals. I walked out of Shang-Chi. Man, I didn't tell you, after Endgame, I don't know what I've liked.
I'm trying to remember what else has come out, yeah.
I mean, I absolutely love Spider-Man, as we know. I can't...
Yeah.
Well, it's honestly, it's the only good thing. There's nothing.
God, I never thought I'd feel this way.
Black Widow is about 2/3 of a good movie.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's not enough for MCU. You need to stick that fucking superhero landing.
Yeah.
And they completely botched it across the board.
Yeah, so far, yeah.
Really, the only good thing, and even that has flaws, is Spider-Man No Way Home. That's the only good thing.
And as far as the series, the only one I can say that was remotely somewhat enjoyable had to have been Hawkeye. But again, they fucked up the ending. They didn't stick the landing. That last episode tears apart everything before it. Loki, I saw just from the start, was fucked up and dumb. I mean, I know there's fans of it, and I'm not trying to make anybody who like that stuff feel bad, but no, like, I think that this is some subpar shit when you put it up against, you know, Iron Man and, you know, Winter Soldier, even Civil War, things like that. That this shit pales in comparison, and this should be some of the more exciting times, because we've gotten past some of this bigger shit. Now we should be getting into some more personal stories, and instead we are getting a personal story, but it's like uber woke shit.
No man is good enough for me, so I'm gonna go to an interdimensional portal and get some fake kids, because no man here in this entire universe is gonna be good enough for me. Wanda, let me put some margaritas in you, and
you'll take care of that.
Mexican Iron Man, aka Darth Poppy, will take care of those.
You'll put some margaritas and some babies in her.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I'll help her get rid of that depression.
Durawan says good morning and hail, and says good to see you, Mike and Chris. Sorry we missed this before Chris had to leave, but yes, we love having Chris here on Mondays. Jesus Davila sends us a thumbs up. Thank you for that, my cowboy Spider-Man. Then we got Toxic Man Flu, who says Godfather Part 3 is neither a father nor a movie. I'll just leave that there. I disagree. It is a movie. But as far as the father part, yeah, there's plenty of fathers in the movie. The movie itself being a father, no, it did not spawn a sequel. So that part you are correct on. Unless you consider The Offer one of its babies, that could be. But I guess that's more of a baby of the first film. Disgruntled Toonabot. That's an interesting name. Says, y'all see Star Wars Larry trailer yet? No, I have not heard of this. What is this?
No idea.
Is this a fan thing, or is this a real Star Wars thing?
I'm checking right now. Let's see.
Oh, I don't feel awful for missing Loki. All I had to see was Andre's review. He told me everything I needed to know.
So pissed about that series. I was so excited to see that.
And yes, Nomensky, for those who didn't like Godfather 3, I recommend Coda. It does flow better for those who may not have liked Godfather 3. It doesn't fix all the problems or anything, but it's a little bit better cut.
Oh yeah, Star Wars Larry. It's a fan cut thing. It's by the Autonauts that do like music stuff. So I'm not watching it right now, but it's a fan made thing. So probably it's better than the official stuff.
Oh, we'll share the link with me too. I'll check it out after the show. Yeah. Unfortunately for copyright reasons, we generally can't share stuff like that, Disgruntled, but thank you for pointing that out to us. Mecha J says, wanted to hear your guys' thoughts on Moon Knight. Was it good or meh? I don't know. I checked out after the second episode, and I heard the ending totally sucked, just like every other Marvel show.
I saw it all. It freaking sucked.
It started with promise, and it completely did not live up to it.
Nope.
I knew there was a problem when the second episode was both simultaneously better and worse than the first episode at the same time.
You were exactly right when you said that on Midnight Edge After Dark. Yep.
You kind of have a feeling like, because that means this is probably the best it's going to get.
Yep.
That's kind of a sign of that.
Yeah, so far, the MCU Disney Plus series are batting 0 out of 6.
You're not. Well, I really wish I didn't. I would love to give Hawkeye at least an honorable mention.
1 out of 6 done.
I wouldn't even give it. Well,
we
you don't even have to give it a whole
Hawkeye
one.
okay.
I guess I don't know, because it still wasn't 1,000, right? Like, at best, I would still.
It was the least bad of them.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it was really only that last episode, right? That
okay,
really...
fine. We'll give it half a point. So they're 0.5 out of 6.
There you go. That works for me. I can get behind that. I think I can get behind that. That's a very bad average indeed. So yeah, Moon Knight, wasn't a big fan of it. Unfortunately, the character sounded very interesting, but the show just didn't do it for me. And I actually like Oscar Isaac as an actor too, and I felt like he really.
Oh, it wasn't his fault.
Yeah, I don't know what they were doing with him here, but the whole making him act like an effeminate male through most of the thing was really kind of a strange thing too. Pablo Cabrera says, "LOL, me and my girlfriend had the same reaction to the Spanish scene." Well, thank you for that. And yeah, that one is one of the scenes that kind of stuck out. Just like, really? You putting that in there? All right. Night of Snoke just sent us $1. Well, thank you for that, Night of Snoke. I wonder if you had a question, but if you go ahead and throw a question there, I'll try and answer it for you. If not, thank you just for the support. We appreciate that. Psychic Girl says, they did not advertise the horror level well. There are a lot of young children in my theater getting disturbed by the death scenes. Oh, well, I never even thought to ask too much about this, and I did think about how I guess they did let Sam get a little visceral, I think was the word I used the other night. I don't know if that's the proper word, but this is definitely one of the most bloody and goriest and death-filled, at least in the sense that they're not just fading and floating away into particles, because those weren't even really deaths. But I mean, yeah, what did you guys think of that?
There's even a zombie in there.
Yeah, half rotted zombie version. It was pretty wicked looking, very right out of Evil Dead.
All the ones in my theater were all adults, and someone made the row behind me or 2 rows behind me. Someone shot. They were like a bunch of people. They're like 9 or 10. It was like a big group, 8 or 9 people, something like that. And someone said, "Oh no, they just went Walking Dead," and the whole row started laughing.
Not wrong. I mean, yeah, this is one of the ones that I think kids would find the least enjoyable.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe younger adults might find some things in here to, like young tween girls will probably gravitate towards America Chavez, and young tween boys will definitely get into the Sam Raimi-isms. Like, because that's his crowd, right? I mean, he plays to that, like, all his shit plays very well to that crowd. So that aspect, yeah, but younger kids, no. I don't think they'll like it. And some of the older fans might be turned off too. But that's one of the only things I found that was kind of refreshing in this was they allowed Raimi to kind of push the horror level a bit, but it wasn't nearly as much as I was expecting it to be. Same thing with the humor. I was expecting a little bit more, dark humor out of it, especially being, Sam Raimi. But no, there was less humor than most of the Marvel films we get nowadays. So I don't know what you guys feel about that, but
No, you're right.
Yeah, don't take young kids to the movie. Zane Elliott says Doomcock ripped on the Strange New Worlds episode. Well, I'm not surprised. That's one of his domains. Night of Snoke did ask a question. Andre, do you think Stellan Skarsgård would play in Cassian Andor show? Thanks.
No, like, who will he play? I have no clue.
Who?
If it's going to be probably an original character would be my best
guess. I would imagine.
Yeah.
You don't get him usually to just do a voice either, so.
No, if you get him, you get him all the way. And I'm sure he's going to be fantastic because he's fantastic in everything.
I'm sure
But
if you
I have
ask him,
no
he
idea
probably
what to
doesn't
play.
remember because he shot it 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Casio keyboard, I don't understand why they're sitting on that one so hardcore. It has no reason to be sat on. It's not leading to anything. It's not setting anything up, really. It's not that I know of anyway. So it's set in a time period that's maybe they have to hold off for Obi-Wan, but Crimson Goji, Jesus, I can't talk today. Says, hey Tom, I can't talk every day, so it's another day that ends in Y. Hey Tom, one of your theories may be true because when Reed Richards is introduced, Doctor Strange mentioned something about them being prevalent during the 60s. Yeah, I caught that little joke. Says they sound like a 60s band or something like that. Yeah, I caught that little joke. That was one of the few chuckles I had in the movie. Then Darius Munchausen sends us a super sticker. I believe it's popcorn. Thank you for that, Darius Munchausen. I can double check just to try and make sure here. I'm not going to wait 10. Oh, yeah, it is popcorn. Thank you. Says Baked and Salty has a $4.99 one here. Says, what the fuck? Why wouldn't she try and find her parents, her brother, Vision, anyone other than non-existent kid? Yeah, that's another thing. There's a ton of other reasons where if you're somebody like that, to where if you have the multiverse and you have all these other opportunities and ability to open up and do this and that and the other, why wouldn't you seek these things out instead of these kids that you literally knew for days? That, yeah, it makes no sense. Anyone you want to add to that?
Nope. You got it.
Mega Wing Zero says Marvel D
Stupid,
Plus.
evil, and insane. All I have to say about it.
Yeah, Marvel D Plus shows make me miss Marvel TV division. For every good show, you get a bad show. Like they made Daredevil, but they made Inhumans.
It's a sad thing. It's a sad thing, but Marvel Entertainment did have a better batting average because of the Netflix series.
And here's the first time we've really had the movie kind of cross over with the show, let's say. And it was a piss poor example of it. Execution. And not only that, the shows that we have gotten, they've been middling at best, right? Like, I can't say they're as wasted opportunities as some of the other shows that we've gotten out of certain things, but they kind of are. I mean, they're really not leading to anything. And this is what I was saying earlier when we were talking about this with Chris, is like, what do we have left for this phase? There is nothing left other than these two other characters that are basically looking for their lost loves. Really, I don't see any grander scheme in that anywhere. And we know the next kind of thing that's being set up with kind of the Secret Wars or whatever. So, and we're not seeing too many seeds of that being planted. Shit, the seeds for that were planted back in the second Spider-Man movie. But that's where I know things kind of went off the rails. So that's why I think that these things have kind of been either sidelined altogether, completely forgot, or they're going to kind of reestablish them, but they have to get the Thor and the Guardians story out of the way first. What do you guys think? And then we can wrap things up, I think.
I think what's lost here, and this could be because Feige is taking the role that he's taking in this phase of all of Marvel, which is that when this thing got started, we had the overall story arc for the entire universe. Then we had story arcs of each characters, and we also had story arcs of the Avengers. So we really had three things happening in motion at the same time. These bits and pieces were interwoven into a continuum that we all seem to be able to get behind. And that's what Andre talks about in the video that he released earlier this morning. Andre, I think it was around 5 a.m. or something U.S. time.
Something like that, yeah.
And if you listen to that part in the video, that to me is driving why we've in a lot of ways we don't have that. If you don't have that mission or that direction, that compass direction where you know where you're going, then everything else just feels like duct taped on. And I think that's the feeling that I got when I watched Strange 2. It felt like a lot of things were just duct taped on to this story, to this movie.
I think you guys summed it up perfectly. I have nothing else to add.
Yeah, like I said, it felt less like a Doctor Strange 2 movie and more like the last few episodes of WandaVision. So I can't argue that point. It's less of a movie than, and I think we've reached that point, right? Like, you know, you can go back and you can still watch things like Empire Strikes Back without seeing Star Wars and still kind of get the story, right? Like, I mean, it works pretty well on its own as a movie for the most part, but it's still based on things that were built before it, and there's things that come after it. We have a similar problem with Marvel. You had it kind of, you kind of brought this point up earlier, Andre, and this is where I said earlier, kind of under the weight of itself in a way, because, you know, when they did those earlier stories, sure, they would tie one or two things together in those earlier films. And in some cases, it was literally just an end credit scene, right? Like in the case of Incredible Hulk until later on, like nothing called back to Hulk until way later, until the Avengers, right?
It was done very selectively and
Yeah.
sparingly, so that so that everything that was done did matter. Whereas right now, it's too much, and I think it's because they don't know where they're going. And I also think it's because many of the things that were there were set up before James Gunn left, and now half of the things that they have set up isn't happening.
Exactly, yeah.
That's what I think. And that's
Yeah.
how you buckle under your own weight.
And you can see the trajectory where it was headed, and then you can see where it derailed, and this is what got us here. So I don't know if there's bouncing back from this or not. This may be we're reaching that level. I mean, sure, these movies are going to make some money for a while, but I think we've reached like Transformers 3 level now at this point. I think you kind of get that analogy where I don't know if they can pull this off anymore. But Night of Snoke sent in $1 more and also had a question and said, one more question if you don't mind. Why do you think Disney hasn't greenlit Maz Kanata's show? She has 1,000 years of history to tell and would be nice to get story from alien POV. Thanks. Because she wasn't a very popular character, and honestly, I think from just about anything from the sequel trilogy right now is going to be very selectively used. I know that we all know that they know it's not very popular. So pretty much anything from that is a creative dead end. Yeah, she was a very interesting character that could have been utilized a little bit more. They didn't even use her to the extent they had planned on. Like, we never even got the rest of her story as to how she got the lightsaber and stuff. There was more to that, and we'll probably never know unless they decide to finally do a comic or a book or something like that. But that's where she can thrive, is in an extended literature and comics and stuff, probably.
If they get around to it, because the problem is the whole sequel trilogy and everything
Yeah, it's a
associated with it is a creative dead end, and they know it. And that's why you haven't gotten anything.
Pretty much. That's kind of what I was saying too, summed up there. So, you know, not to break your heart, but I wouldn't get my hopes up on that. Did we miss any member chats, Mike, that you know of?
To my knowledge, we got them all.
Okay, let me...
I'll double check real quick.
Yeah, let me check.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Yes, we did. Let me do these real quick. These came in after the fact. Gonzalo Bergali's been a member for 5 months at the Viking level. He says, Arriba. Gonzalo, Arriba back. I like it when people say Arriba. All right. Big Raj has been a member for 14 months at the Midnighter level. Don't comment, but since that, thank you, Raj. And that's it. Oh, some more just came in. The Ghost DS member for 14 months at the Midnighter level. Thank you. And Dear's Winchausen member for 14 months, also at the Midnighter level. Thank you. Now we're done.
All right.
All right.
So, and with that, I would like to say thank you to everyone for joining us today. To Chris Gore, to Mike for helping out before Tom
Yes,
came,
thank
and
you
of
so
course
much for
after.
your help, Mike.
To Tom, to everyone watching. Also, check out Midnight's Edge live archives. Now, for those that are not aware, that is where all of these live shows, every single one, end up after they're done here. And starting from today, we're starting to doing clips of the best parts. So we'll be doing the best Gore bits will also be there on Midnight's Edge live archives. So go check that out if you haven't already. And Tom, isn't there something that people need to check out later tonight?
Yes, we have Toxic Femininity tonight. I have no idea what the ladies are talking about yet, but I'm sure it'll have something to do with WandaVision, and who knows what else will happen in the meantime. And also Paulie says, check out Midnight's Edge movie Espanol night tonight. It's Street Fighter. Everyone is welcome and thank you. There you go. So we got that going on as well.
Yes, do check out Midnight's Edge Espanol, which is a great channel. They're doing great work over there. And they also have their live shows on Tuesday around the same time as we would have gone live.
And if you don't have the movie, it looks like you don't have to worry. Paulie has you covered here. So talk to him on Twitter or email him and he will get you set up. Because I believe they do it via Zoom or something like that, right, Mike?
Yes, sir.
There you go. So that is what you'll probably need to watch that tonight or to participate. So be prepared and whatnot.
And Mark's 47, Mark S47, member 14 months, Midnighter level. Just as we're signing off, thank you for your member chat, Mark.
And he says it'll begin, it looks like, directly after Toxic Femininity. So there you go. Check that out, kids. And with that, Andre.
With that, it's time for some koalas in the rain.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain. No fucks given, koala